Chapter 181. If it was really just siblings throwing a tantrum, Qin Yu wouldn't have done such a thing. It was obvious that they had broken up. The assistant was dumbfounded. However, even if Qin Yu did something that might affect his reputation, he didn't dare to interfere. After all, this person was Qin Yu. Soon, the internet exploded again. Everyone saw that Qin Yu had posted a post personally. Qin Yu, in the past 17 years, the kindness of raising me is greater than the heavens. As her elder brother, I owe Director Lin a thank you. Director Lin taught me very well and she has always been beautiful. Love and brightness, kindness will last forever. The picture was a photo of Qin Yu and the old lady taken a few days ago. The moment this post was posted, everyone thought of Qin Youjiao's post. Wasn't Qin Yu obviously responding to Qin Youjiao? This slap to the face was too ruthless. Not only did he tear apart those self-righteous fans who called the old lady a bloodsucker, he even tore apart Qin Youjiao. Every word was saying that Qin Youjiao had no moral bottom line. As expected of the best actor, he never showed mercy when tearing people apart. Soon, the comments section was occupied by fans of various families. Let me take a look. Let me take a look. F***ck, is brother Yu domineeringly protecting his sister? Sob, my husband's photo is so good. No way, no way, no way. The two sisters are tearing each other apart and Qin Yu is standing on their side? No wonder Jiao Jiao's condition hasn't been good recently. Can the Qin family be fair? Goodbye, the Jiao fan above, is there something wrong with your brain? Your main character isn't even saying anything about the old lady and you're not letting my brother Yu say anything? What's the matter? Are you planning to tear us apart? Sure, we don't mind either. We can help your main character raise his status. The moment Qin Yu's fans came up, Qin Youjiao's fans were terrified. After all, who didn't know the fighting power of Qin Yu's fans? Usually, almost no one in the industry dared to provoke this group of sisters. However, it didn't take long for strange comments to appear. Why does this old lady look so familiar? The person above, there's no need for that. She's the director of the orphanage. How, do you know her? F***ck, Bei Yunj used to live in an orphanage? No wonder. It's a fact that it's difficult to catch up to Qin Youjiao due to the lack of congenital conditions. Master laughed. The moment Qin Yu spoke, Pei Yunj gained so many fans who adore her. No matter what Qin Yu thinks, aren't this old lady and this new Miss Qin just greedy for the Qin family's money? Soon, this comment was liked and placed in the top 3 trending topics. Following that, many of Qin Youjiao's fans began to feel aggrieved. Sigh, it's so hard to chase after celebrities. As long as I'm Qin Youjiao's fan, I can't speak the truth, our Jiao is just a flower of wealth. She can't compare to other people in terms of social experience. I heard that orphanages are quite messy, upstairs, that's right. You can't imagine the dark side of children who come from an orphanage. At this moment, many of Qin Youjiao's fans seized the opportunity to start a conspiracy theory. He even implied that Bei Yunj was not the daughter of the Qin family and that everything was a lie. But who would have thought that in the next moment, a pornographic account would make a statement? F***ck. It's really Dean Lin. Qin Youjiao's fans, can you wake up? Don't offend someone you shouldn't. Chapter 182. Awesome, so the director of the orphanage has such a background too. I'll give Bei Yunj a like, I'm dying of laughter. Someone you can't offend? You're so amazing. You know more than everyone, at this moment. The account was so angry that he laughed. However, not long after, he sent another reply. Indeed, Jiao fans are all primary school students. Search for Lin Lanjun online. Don't act like a retard all day long. Seeing this comment, many of Qin Youjiao's fans were angry, but they still searched for that name. Soon, a Baidu encyclopedia appeared. Lin Longjun, Ph.D. in biology, former director of Yuncheng University's Faculty of Biology, and an academician of the Academy of Sciences. Winner of the 48th Janes Biology Award, specializing in molecular biology and systems biology. He is now retired. Everyone? What the hell? Were they dreaming? These honors felt like a big shot that they had to memorize in their high school textbooks had suddenly appeared in the entertainment industry. Did they break through the dimension? F***CK. The former director of my alma mater. I worship Director Lin. Ah, my idol. I'm crying. It's really Director Lin. The pioneer of biology in the country. I was caught by my roommate and asked me to come and see my idol. I didn't expect it to be Director Lin. Director Lin is my motivation to get into Yuncheng University. She's also the person I'm most proud of in my youth. Wait a minute, are there any requirements to register for the orphanage? I think my son is quite suitable too. Ah, Bei Yunj has made a killing. Who doesn't want to be doted on by Director Lin? Director Lin was famous for her good temper back then. Not long after, the comments below Qin Yu exploded. A few hours later, some big shots in the scientific research field who obviously did not use social media registered personal accounts and reposted this post. Everyone looked at these credentials. The principal of Yuncheng University, the Dean of Biology of Yuncheng University, the founder of the Tsinghua Research Institute, one by one, the big shots who could let them memorize hundreds of words more in high school came out and reposted to support their old friends. This was a famous scene in the scientific research field. What was even more eye-catching was that the official account of Yuncheng University, the highest university in the country, directly reposted and commented on Qin Yu's post. Yuncheng University, Dean Lin donated all the patent fees back then to support the public welfare of the abducted children. You will always be the Director Lin that we are proud of, heart, / Qin Yu. The moment the post was forwarded, Qin Yojiao's fans fell silent. However, no one had forgotten the comments about Bei Yunj and Director Lin. I'm going to cry. Director Lin is such a good person. She went to open an orphanage in her later years and insisted on doing good deeds. Yet, she still has to be humiliated like this. Goodbye, I've turned from a fan to a hater. Disgusting. This time, it was your main character who admitted that he had slandered Director Lin. Smile, I'm dying of laughter. Ha 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 ha, Yuncheng University unfollowed Qin Yojiao. That's too protective. That's right. All of Qin Yojiao's fans in Yun University have automatically stopped being her fans. Who isn't Dean Lin and Du Wei? The daughter that Principal Lin raised is my daughter too. Oh no, it's my collection. No wonder I haven't seen Bei Yunja's movements. The child raised by Director Lin is so low-key. Right now, all of Qin Yojiao's fans were panicking. No one had expected such a reversal. Chapter 183. The director of the orphanage that raised Bei Yunj was actually a famous researcher? Is this world a fantasy? Because of the sudden exposure of Director Lin's identity, the public's attitude towards Bei Yunj had changed drastically. In the past, when you said that you were envious of Qin Yojiao, I really couldn't get it. But now, I'm really envious of Bei Yunj. Not to mention her brother. Can a researcher grandmother that appears in high school textbooks be more amazing? The photos that were posted on the forum don't seem to show Director Lin's face. It feels like Bei Yunj is blocking it on purpose. This is too heartwarming. Director Lin has helped the Qin family raise their daughter for 17 years. What's wrong with Bei Yunj bringing Director Lin out for a meal? Do all of you think that benefits are more important than raising her? A certain fan should come out and jump in. Why are you acting like cowards? Qin Yojiao, come out and apologize to Director Lin. Grin, at night. Qin Yojiao was still watching a drama. Not long after, Mrs. Qin pushed the door open and entered, her expression dark. Jiao, what did you post online? Qin Youjiao panicked immediately, thinking that Mrs. Qin also felt that she had gone overboard. Mom. I'm sorry. She bit her lip, her eyes red. I did something wrong. Can you forgive me? Hearing this, Mrs. Qin was angry and heartbroken. Jiao, are you stupid? Look at the headlines now. Headlines? Qin Youjiao was stunned. Weren't they all scolding Bei Yunj and that old Madame Lin? Qin Youjiao unconsciously opened the message, and what entered her eyes was an unprecedented large number of private messages and comments. This made Qin Youjiao's heart tremble and she had a bad feeling. Then, Qin Youjiao clicked on it, and after reading the first dozen or so comments, her face paled. How did this happen? The internet was filled with comments scolding and reprimanding her. And that ordinary-looking old lady was actually the former director of Yuncheng University? And she had received so many honors. How was this possible? Qin Youjiao's expression was dazed as her face gradually turned green and red. Mom, Qin Youjiao couldn't help crying and started to feel helpless. I really didn't know. She's the dean of Yuncheng University. Yuncheng University had always been her dream school. But now, could she still get into Yuncheng University? Mother Qin's expression didn't look too good either. She didn't expect that the seemingly submissive old lady was actually such a character. She took a deep breath and said, Jiao, when your leg is better, I'll take you to apologize to Director Lin. You must get her forgiveness. Mrs. Qin also regretted treating Director Lin like that back then. If she had known about Principal Lin's identity earlier, she would have definitely treated Principal Lin well. Perhaps, he could even get Director Lin to bring some resources to Jiao. But can Principal Lin forgive me? Qin Youjiao's eyes were filled with resentment and unwillingness. What right did Bei Yunj have to take all the good things? Even if Bei Yunj was swapped, how could she be adopted by Director Lin? Now that Bei Yunj was back, even second brother and third brother only treated Bei Yunj as their younger sister. At this moment, Mrs. Qin looked at Qin Youjiao, her heart feeling very complicated. She didn't expect Qin Youjiao to do such a thing. Seeing Mrs. Qin sigh, Qin Youjiao hurriedly grabbed Mrs. Qin's hand. She hated Bei Yunj to the core, but she cried and said with a trembling voice, Mom, I'm really afraid that she'll snatch you away. Chapter 184. Feeling helpless and heartbroken, Mrs. Qin could only caress Qin Youjiao's head. She could not bear to see Qin Youjiao being scolded like this. Don't do such a thing in the future. Mom will find someone to settle it for you. Backstage. Qin Yu read the public opinion and calmed down the shock in his heart before he started to play games. Then, suddenly, Qin Yu heard a phone notification. When he left the game and opened his personal message, he found that he had entered a mysterious and strange organization. What is it? Qin Yu opened the group chat in confusion. However, when he saw the group members' identities, the phone he was holding almost shook. The former and current principal of Yuncheng University, the Dean of Science, and the current Dean of Biology. In addition, there were several famous professors. Even Qin Yu recognized them. One of the professors seemed to have won a world award some time ago. Dean of Biology of Yuncheng University, do you have a personal account for your daughter? Qin Yu, former principal of Yuncheng University, Qin Yu, little Qin, if you have the chance, let your daughter come to my house to play. Seeing these messages, Qin Yu felt like he had entered a world that did not fit in. These were all big shots in the scientific research field. Qin Yu was shocked for a long time as he watched this group of immortals continue chatting. Professor Yu Guang, you're already so old and you're still thinking about Lanjun? Principal of Yuncheng University, former principal of Yuncheng University, why do you care? Former principal of Yuncheng University, Dean of Biology of Yuncheng University, find a chance to get Lanjuan's daughter to enroll in our school. Seeing this message, Qin Yu thought of his GU's results and his eyelids twitched. He did not notice that another big shot had entered the group. Institute, Zhongxinglin, why didn't Lanjun tell me? Where did she find this child? After Zhongxinglin found out that Bei Yunj was actually raised by his old acquaintance, he felt even more jealous. Why didn't he encounter such a good thing? Why couldn't he find an heir? Former principal of Yunqing University, old Zhong, don't wander around the edge of the law because you don't have a successor, okay? Institute, Zhongxinglin, the nature of the crime of picking up a child and kidnapping children was the same. Institute, Zhongxinglin, at this moment. Qin Yu had just regained his senses when he saw the new member's name card and almost stood up. Zhongxinglin? Anyone who surfed the internet would know of this old Master Zhong. This was Director Lin's friend too? Qin Yu suppressed the shock and complexity in his heart. In the end, he took a deep breath and replied. Qin Yu, Gu doesn't have a personal account, principal of Yunqing University, it's fine. Your daughter is going to college soon, right? Have you decided which department you want to enter? Qin Yu, he probably wouldn't be able to get into any of the faculties. Just as Qin Yu was chatting awkwardly with the big shots, Bei Yunj was preparing the information she would bring to A.M. tomorrow. He didn't care about what was happening on the internet at all. However, at this time, Marcus called. What happened? Bei Yunj leaned back in her chair and wiped her wet hair lazily. I heard from Zhongxinglin that something happened to you online again. Don't tell me you called me specially because of this? Bei Yunj's eyes relaxed and she looked charming. Seeing that Bei Yunj ignored the comments online, Marcus heaved a sigh of relief. He said, no, I'm looking for you this time mainly because of the Qin family. Chapter 185. About the Qin family? Bei Yunj's eyes were calm and he could not tell from her tone. Your brother seems to have been looking for professionals in the computing field to work with. Besides us, he has also contacted other computing institutes and professional platforms. Hearing this, a trace of thought flashed past Bei Yunj's eyes. She did not know much about her brother, Qin Luyan. However, she remembered that the reason for the Qin family's bankruptcy seemed to be related to the company's data leak. For the company's data to be leaked, apart from being bribed, it could also be done maliciously by technicians. If it was the latter, then this was the same as the anti-fan who harmed old Master Qin back then. What conditions did he offer you? Bei Yunj asked. Marcus smiled. Everyone is well aware of what kind of conditions the rich will offer. This is nothing more than the hiring fee. However, Yunj, that's your brother. If it's for your sake, of course there's no problem. If it was before, Marcus would definitely have accepted it secretly and then told Bei Yunj to gain her favor. However, some time ago, he heard from that old fellow Zhongxinglin about the Qin family and Bei Yunj and no longer had a good impression of the Qin family. What was wrong with them? They did not want a daughter who could bring the Qin family to the top and insisted on treating that Qin Yojiao as a treasure. Did this family use their IQ to exchange for looks? Just as expected. After a while, Bei Yunj tapped the table carelessly with her fingertips. There's no need. In the original novel, the Qin family's bankruptcy was done by an heiress who was crazily pursuing the eldest young master of the Qin family, Qin Luyan. Later, this heiress even became Qin Yojiao's good friend. So, for the time being, she could not interfere in this matter. She had to lure the snake out of its hole first. Although she did not want to have anything to do with the Qin family, she would help the original protagonist achieve her long-cherished wish after inheriting the original protagonist's body. Including solving the Qin family's crisis for the original protagonist. Yunj, do you really hate them a lot? Marcus hesitated for a moment before asking. Marcus, do you think I can't solve this matter? Bei Yunj was all smiles. Hearing this, Marcus was instantly enlightened. That's right. Did the Qin family need to go outside and beg for help? Didn't he have an immortal at home? Alright, then we won't get involved in this matter. After reporting this, Marcus hung up the phone. At this moment, Bei Yunj received a message from Qin Luyan almost at the same time. You're going back soon. Do you want any gifts? Bei Yunj glanced at it and frowned. She thought that Qin Luyan had sent it to the wrong person, so she turned around and went to the bathroom to dry her hair. But at the same time, Qin Luyan, who was far away in country R, waited for a few hours but did not receive a reply from his sister. The next day, after Bei Yunj went downstairs, she rubbed her furry head and asked in a nasal voice, "Auntie Meow, where is my brother?" Mr. Huo went out. "I've prepared breakfast for you, miss," Auntie Meow said with a smile. "Thank you, Aunt Meow." After Bei Yunj sat down, the worry in Aunt Meow's eyes gradually disappeared. "Miss, I have something to tell you." Hearing this, Bei Yunj looked up instinctively. "What is it?" "Mr. Huo went out with President Yu today." Auntie Meow frowned. "President Yu doesn't have any good habits. He changes his girlfriend like clothes. If Mr. Huo went out with him, miss, you have to persuade Sir to go home early." Chapter 186. Bei Yunja's hand that was scooping the porridge stopped. He did not quite understand Aunt Meow's anxiousness. Maybe she's going out to relax. Bei Yunj did not wait for Aunt Meow to continue persuading him and pulled her to sit down. "Aunt Meow, try it too. It's pretty good." "Aunt Meow, after breakfast." Bei Yunj glanced at the identity card that Zhong Xinglin had given him on the table. He casually stuffed it into his pocket and prepared to leave with the documents. A.M. Institute of Computational Technology. "Brat, hurry up and wipe the glass. Why is it so dirty? It affects the aesthetics, do you know that?" Zhong Xinglin suddenly slammed the young man's table, giving him a fright. What was wrong with this old man? Back then, when the higher-ups came over, he was so focused on research that he couldn't even be bothered to open the door for them. He left the leaders at the door for more than an hour. Now, he actually wanted him to wipe the glass. The young man thought for a moment and frowned again. "No way, old master. There are only a few interns today. Do you have to mobilize so many people?" He was a senior after all. Just because a few interns came over, he had to personally wipe the glass? What's wrong? There's a future director among them. Hearing this, Zhong Xinglin's face darkened and he slapped the back of the young man's head. "The new member of the Marcus family will be coming today. You'd better be more respectful. Take good care of her and make her feel that the A.M. Institute is the happiest place in the world." The young man had goosebumps when he heard the happiest place in the world. He crossed his arms and looked wary. "Old master, don't treat me as a tool just to seduce a big shot, okay? It's fine if it's a girl, but you want me to seduce a man with my beauty?" This was a legitimate research institute. What kind of messy happy place was this? Zhong Xinglin endured for a long time and tried his best not to get angry. Then, he put on a fake smile. "Do you think she'll like you?" "The young man? It's a little girl. Don't mess around." When Zhong Xinglin thought about how the person he had been looking for so long was finally under his nose, he became happy. "Hurry up and wipe the windows. Also, ask those guys in the station to come over and identify the person in an hour." "Little girl? How big is that?" The young man's eyes lit up, and his blood boiled. Little girl? The little girl from their computing institute? Wasn't this too happy? You'll know when the time comes. Zhong Xinglin frowned and glanced at the restless young man with disdain. "Old master, I actually think it's a good thing to sacrifice for the research institute." If it's possible, the young man changed the topic, but he did not expect to be interrupted by Zhong Xinglin with a smile. He closed his mouth with one hand. "No, you can't." Even though the young man's mouth was pinched shut, he still struggled hard and said vaguely, "I'm the favorite of the research institute. Other than me, you can seduce anyone, but if you dare to seduce her, those old fellows from Yunqing University will be the first to not let you off." Zhong Xinglin's words made the young man unable to react. He did not expect this new member to have such a strong background. At this moment, Cheng Zihuai sat in the car and listened to Qin Youjiao speak. "Zihuai, today is your first day in the institute. I'm really sad that I can't send you off." Chapter 187. Cheng Zihuai smirked. He was in a good mood because he had finally gotten the only internship spot in Hengda. "Recuperate well. I'll visit you when I'm free." At this point, Cheng Zihuai could not help but think of Bei Yunj and he frowned. Ever since Bei Yunj returned to the Qin family, the Qin family had been in a mess. She was really here to collect debts. However, he did not expect Bei Yunj to be so lucky to be raised by Director Lin. Seeing that Cheng Zihuai's attitude towards her had not changed, Qin Youjiao felt sweet and touched. Then, after being coaxed by Cheng Zihuai, she hung up the call in relief. But almost at the same time, Cheng Zihuai received another call. It was from Mrs. Cheng. "Zihuai, why couldn't I get through to you just now?" "I was calling Jiao," Cheng Zihuai said. Hearing this, Mrs. Cheng couldn't stop smiling. "You said that you like Jiao, but you refused to admit it. Back then, you quarreled with Jiao and insisted on getting engaged to Bei Yunj. Fortunately, the Qin family didn't take it seriously." Hearing Bei Yunj's name, the smile on Cheng Zihuai's face disappeared. "Mom. Okay, let's not talk about her. My son is so outstanding, of course he has to find a girl who is worthy of him." Mrs. Cheng had always looked down on Bei Yunj and her tone was contemptuous. "Zihuai, don't worry. Your father is very happy that you entered AM this time. When you become an official employee, I'll go and talk to Mrs. Qin about your engagement with Jiao." Cheng Zihuai's eyebrows relaxed. "Thank you, Mom." Although Bei Yunj was indeed prettier than Jiao now, his wife was destined to be more than just looks. A person with a notorious record like Bei Yunj had no right to be his wife. After hanging up the call, Cheng Zihuai got out of the car and arrived at the entrance of the AM Computing Institute. Unfortunately, the moment he looked up, he saw Bei Yunj walking towards him. Cheng Zihuai furrowed his eyebrows and his gaze on Bei Yunj became mocking. He had gotten the only internship spot in Hengda. Wasn't it obvious why Bei Yunj was here? He thought that this woman really didn't care about him anymore. He didn't expect that she would return to her previous self so quickly. Cheng Zihuai turned his head coldly. After the security guard checked his internship certificate and let him go, he said, "It's better to prohibit unauthorized people from entering your place, lest they cause trouble." With that, Cheng Zihuai left. The security guard turned around and saw Bei Yunj. He immediately understood what Cheng Zihuai meant. Soon, when Bei Yunj reached the entrance, the security guard stopped her. "Miss, the station doesn't allow unauthorized people to enter." Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes moved as she saw Cheng Zihuai enter the AM Computing Institute. Of course, she knew why the security guard stopped her. She lowered her eyes and her red lips curled. Without saying anything, she took out her identity card and swiped it on the machine. Shortly after, before the security guards could stop them, they heard a long beeping sound. Then, the door opened automatically. The security guard's eyes widened when he saw this. Only the professors and directors of the institute had this identity card. What was wrong with this young lady? "Can I go in now?" Bei Yunj looked at him and smiled politely. When the security guard reacted, he hurriedly nodded. Miss, please." What kind of operation was this? This young lady was a new member of the station. She was too young. After Bei Yunj thanked him, she went straight into the police station. Chapter 188. Bypassing the courtyard, Bei Yunj walked along the long corridor and found the reception room. However, she did not expect to meet a young man cleaning glass on the way. Bei Yunj was speechless. Did the people in the Computing Institute love life so much? "Hello, uncle. May I know how to get to the reception room?" Hearing this address, the young man's body trembled and his face darkened. He turned around and wanted to curse. However, when he saw Bei Yunj's face clearly, his face was filled with shock. It's you?" The young man's heart was in turmoil, but all his doubts were resolved. However, when he regained his senses, he became agitated again. "Why is it you? It's actually you? Are you kidding me?" So, the person who paralyzed the headlines and accurately sent Qin Lang's anti-fans to the police station was Bei Yunj herself? There were no other big shots at all. When the young man thought about how the security system in the hospital that he could not even make was made by Bei Yunj, his heart skipped a beat and he sprained his ankle. His entire body fell out of the window. At this moment, his eyes widened in fear. In the process of falling, he saw Bei Yunj quickly and considerately move the bucket under him away with the tip of her foot. It was not enough to make him drenched. However, the next moment, the young man still screamed and almost lost his life. "Ouch, my waist." The young man's face was distorted from the pain. A few minutes later, the young man regained his senses and looked up to meet Bei Yunj's gaze. The two of them looked at each other and were silent for a long time. The young man said, "Thank you." Bei Yunj said, "You're welcome." One dared to say it, while the other dared to respond. In the long corridor, the young man held his waist and limped with Bei Yunj to look for Zhong Xinglin. "My name is Si Cheng Yen. You can call me Brother Yen." Bei Yunj could tell that he had deliberately emphasized the last few words. "Okay, where is Elder Zhong?" "Old Master planned to let you use the Deputy Director's research lab. He probably went to see the layout." Bei Yunj did not expect Zhong Xinglin to care so much about her. She nodded. "Thank you." "You're welcome. Grandpa likes you a lot. You have to know that I only had the privilege of having my own research lab last year." Si Cheng Yen looked at her sourly. "If you sign with our agency, I don't know how much he will dote on you. Marcus is also very good to me." Bei Yunj chuckled. Although it hadn't been long since they signed the contract, Marcus did clean up a lot of her messes. "With your qualifications, you'll be worshipped like an ancestor no matter where you go, okay?" Si Cheng Yen was indignant. He was only 19 years old. In the future, he would definitely be a rare genius that every country would fight over. Bei Yunj smiled nonchalantly and followed Si Cheng Yen to another building. But right at this moment, Cheng Zihuai, who was passing by, was stopped by a graduate student who had just entered the institute this year. The senior pointed at Si Cheng Yen excitedly. "Did you see that boy? He's not even 30 years old and is a guest professor of computer science at our Yinqing University." When Cheng Zihuai heard this, he was about to size up Si Cheng Yen when he suddenly noticed the figure beside him. His expression changed. Wasn't that Bei Yunj? How did she get into the Computing Institute? Why are you in a daze? Did you hear what I said? The senior said unhappily. I'll go take a look. Cheng Zihuai's face darkened and he wanted to chase after her. But then, he was stopped by the senior. Chapter 189. Are you crazy? Do you want to be chased out? The senior could not help but pat Cheng Zihuai and laugh. Brother, those who are not important members of the institute are not qualified to enter that place. Cheng Zihuai's mind was in a mess. He took a deep breath and pointed in the direction Bei Yunj had left. Then that girl, huh? What girl? The senior did not notice Bei Yunj and only cared about showing off his connections in front of the new Cheng Zihuai. As for Cheng Zihuai, he was sure that the person he saw just now was definitely Bei Yunj. He could not be wrong. However, Bei Yunj could not be an important member of the institute. Other than experienced computing talents, A.M.'s entry process would take several years to reach that position. How could Bei Yunj know anything about computers? It's fine. Cheng Zihui took a deep breath and did not continue to dwell on this matter. In the research room. Do you want to consider the new interns for our new project? They all feel good. The plump director smiled apologetically. In the past few years, there were almost no interns left in the institute. Although he was anxious, there was nothing he could do. After all, this was founded by Zhong Xinglin himself. No one could interfere. Consider my foot. Zhong Xinglin rolled his eyes. When he thought about how Marcus could poach someone from Yuncheng across the ocean, he was so angry that his lungs hurt. The director was shocked. He did not know why Zhong Xinglin had been so hot-tempered recently. Then this research room. The director asked carefully. It's for someone else, Zhong Xinglin said matter-of-factly. The director continued to ask, not from our institute? I haven't poached her yet. Zhong Xinglin was also a little worried. That girl looked young, but he could not figure out what she was thinking. However, when the director heard this, his eyelids twitched. You didn't manage to poach her, so you let her come to our private research room? Wasn't this too much? Back then, Si Qingyan had hugged Zhong Xinglin's thigh and begged shamelessly for a year before he had a private research room. She's worth it. After Zhong Xinglin said this, he chuckled at the department head. If I don't have any ideas about her and continue to guide those interns, I don't know if I will still have any hope of seeing my juniors win the Busaka Prize before I die. Busaka Prize? The director's expression changed. How could a member of the Foreign Institute be so capable? She's from the Marcus Research Institute. She was the one who proposed the key project of our nation's computing institute this year. Hearing Zhong Xinglin's words, the director's scalp went numb. Since Superintendent Zhong was trying to poach people, wouldn't Marcus fly over from country R to fight with Superintendent Zhong? The new member they are talking about? Zhong Xinglin and Marcus, important members of the Computing Institute, knew each other. If it was an old member, Zhong Xinglin would have already taken action. Yes. Director, it wasn't easy for the other party to sign a big shot, and he was already trying to poach him. Wasn't he afraid of retribution? Then when will she? Before the director could finish his worrisome question, he heard a clear voice. Elder Zhong. In an instant. The director paused and slowly turned his head. His gaze landed on Bei Yunj. Then, his mind exploded. He instantly understood why Zhong Xinglin had spent so much money to poach him. Was this really the person the superintendent wanted to poach? Wasn't she too young? Chapter 190. At this age, she could already aim for the Busaka Prize. If it was him, he would also dig her up. Yunj, you're here. Look at this place. Are you satisfied? The moment Zhong Xinglin saw Bei Yunj, his eyes lit up. He was so amiable that Si Qingyan, who was beside him, felt extremely uncomfortable. Back then, when he had been recruited, this old man had not even treated him like this. Thank you, I like it very much. Bei Yunj scanned the spacious and bright research room. There were all kinds of basic facilities. There was even a projector in front to facilitate the live video conference. It's good that you like it. Then I'll bring you to meet people first. Zhong Xinglin's words made people think that Bei Yunj had already entered their calculations. Okay. Bei Yunj's eyes moved. Indeed. In the next period of time, she would have to come to the institute often. It was time to meet people. Although she also felt that Zhong Xinglin's intentions seemed to be different. In the conference room, Bei Yunj was arranged to sit on the left of Zhong Xinglin. The important members of A.M. had just entered when they noticed the unfamiliar girl and were shocked. What was going on? Didn't they say that they were here to see the big boss that the old master was especially concerned about? What did it mean that a young girl suddenly appeared in their institute? Suddenly. A terrifying conjecture emerged in their minds. No way. The big boss that the inspector liked was this young girl? Sit down, what are you looking at? The head of department raised his orchid fingers and served Bei Yunj a cup of tea. Miss Pei, try it. It's fresh, milk tea. He looked down and realized that Si Chengyan, that bastard, had gotten him a cup of milk tea. The head of department's eyes were burning as he stared straight at Si Chengyan. You're welcome. Si Chengyan raised his glass at Bei Yunj and drank the milk tea in one gulp. He crossed his arms and bit the pearl happily. Bei Yunj took the teacup as her overly beautiful eyes curved lazily. She didn't seem like a difficult person to interact with. Seeing this, the director and director both heaved a sigh of relief. Come, let me introduce you. This is Bei Yunj. She's the little girl I mentioned to everyone before. Zhong Xinglin turned around excitedly. Yunj, introduce yourself. When Bei Yunj heard this, she felt the gazes around her. She was silent for a moment and swallowed the pearl unhurriedly. Hello, everyone. I'm Bei Yunj, a member of Country R's Institute of Computational Technology. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere was cold and awkward. Everyone, oh, he hadn't been poached yet. At the same time, in the meeting room of another building, Cheng Zihui frowned. Didn't you say that we have a meeting at 11? The boy next to him shook his head and whispered into his ear mysteriously. I heard that the professor who is going to give us a speech is having an impromptu meeting. In the next building, the big shots were having a meeting. Do you understand? All of them are immortals. An impromptu meeting at this time? Cheng Zihui pursed his lips. However, as an intern, he had no right to speak. I think a big boss came. The institute values her very much, the boy said nonchalantly. Hearing this, Cheng Zihuai's expression softened a little. However, he was also curious about who this person was. Soon, he quickly recalled how he had bumped into Bei Yunj on the way. However, when he regained his senses, he felt that his thoughts were ridiculous. How could Bei Yunj be qualified? Chapter 191. Those who could be valued by A.M. were definitely those who were competing for the top. As for Bei Yunj, she was a brainless person. Now, she was already pampered by the older brothers of the Qin family. In the future, it was hard to say if she would be a prodigal. How could she be involved with a big boss? Cheng Zihui snorted. He felt that he might not have rested enough and was starting to let his imagination run wild. Forget it, he would wait a little longer. It was not easy for him to enter the A.M. Computing Institute. In the conference hall of another building, more than 10 members watched expressionlessly as the superintendent and the dean worked together to poach people. Oh right, Yunj, what's the direction of your project? Zhong Xinglin asked. Public key cryptography. I think it'll take another 4 months to complete. The moment Bei Yunj finished speaking, Si Chengyan, who was originally relaxed, could not sit still anymore. Public key cryptography? Si Chengyan suddenly remembered. You're the one who did Marcus's key project this year? I'm the person in charge. The moment Bei Yunj finished speaking, the other members looked up abruptly. Their faces were filled with shock as they sucked in a breath of cold air. Very few people did research in this direction, so there was not much information in this area. Therefore, it was difficult to produce results. However, as Marcus's new member, Bei Yunj brought along a key project right from the start. Wasn't her intention obvious? She was F*King aiming for the Busaka prize. Marcus was not a fool. Without full confidence, he would not spend so much effort on Bei Yunj. It was obvious that Marcus had really scooped up a genius from their country this time, and right under their noses. Then Yunj, are you free to work with our institute too? The dean hurriedly put on a smile and started to poach her quietly. Bei Yunj was about to speak when her phone suddenly vibrated. She took out her phone and looked down. It was a call from Marcus. The dean was speechless. Did this old fellow have clairvoyance? Why did he call at this time? Yunj, take it. Zhong Shenglin also saw the note. Then, he smiled generously and leaned back in his chair confidently. In the eyes of the other members, he was probably a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. Anyway, he was determined to poach this person. My apologies. Bei Yunj nodded. At this time, Marcus rarely called. What's wrong, Marcus? Bei Yunj asked. Marcus's voice sounded from the other end of the phone. Your big brother offered us a very high price. Of course, we don't care about this little bit of money. However, you know that. We have some platforms here. There will definitely be people who will agree to your big brother's request. I'm afraid that your big brother won't just be deceived. People who were proficient in virtual networks were difficult to control. If Bei Yunj's eldest brother wasn't careful, he might lose his entire family fortune. She wondered what had happened to the Qin family that made Bei Yunj's elder brother so anxious. Marcus pondered. Okay, I got it. Then agree to his request first, Bei Yunj said calmly as she hid the emotions in her eyes. Agree? Don't you want to handle it yourself? Marcus was stunned. Hearing this, Bei Yunj chuckled. Am I not a member of the institute? These words made Zhong Shenglin, who was beside her, feel jealous. Chapter 192. When Marcus heard this, he understood. Suddenly, he said, Yunj, are you at the A.M. Institute? Bei Yunj glanced at the others. At the same time, the people from the A.M. Computing Institute noticed something strange. Marcus said, Yunj, turn on the speaker and chat with your old friend. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and turned on the speaker after asking Zhong Shenglin. Oh, Marcus, why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? Don't tell me you're nervous. Zhong Shenglin smiled. Hearing the old master's annoying tone, all the members were speechless. But in the next second, they heard Marcus retort again. Why are you nervous? I'm embarrassed that my Yunj is working at the place you borrowed. Look, I even transferred some funds to you. Thank you for taking care of my Yunj. Marcus continued to be a bitch. I'm relieved to have you guys taking care of her. All the members were speechless. No wonder these two were old classmates. They were both annoying. Because she had an appointment with the intern she was teaching, Bei Yunj returned to the research lab early and had a video conference. As for Tich and Jasmine, although they could not keep up with Bei Yunj's progress, they were still hardworking and learned a lot. Except sometimes, Bei Yunj's silence made them tremble in fear. Until evening. Bei Yunj returned home, only to find the living room empty. Her eyebrows moved as she suddenly remembered what Aunt Miao had said to her. Brother and Yu Hanran had gone out. Bei Yunj glanced at her watch. It was almost 7:30 p.m. After thinking for a moment, she went upstairs to take a shower first. Then, she carried her laptop downstairs and sat on the soft blanket by the coffee table, waiting quietly. Miss Pei, you're back? Aunt Miao walked over from the long corridor with dinner. Bei Yunj nodded. Aunt Miao, did brother say when he will be back? Mr. Hua never tells me this. However, sometimes Mr. Hua and President Yu go out and don't come back. Bei Yunj's fingers paused for a moment before she tapped the table again. Okay, I'll ask her later. Hearing this, Auntie Miao grinned. Alright. I'll bring the soup over first. Miss, please fill your stomach. Yes. After Aunt Miao left, Bei Yunj called Huashidu. But at this moment, Bei Yunj almost thought that she was here to check on her. Not long after, the call went through. Bei Yunj heard the man's deep and pleasant voice. It sounded more magnetic and clear through the phone. "What's wrong, Yun Yun? Have you eaten?" Huashidu glanced sideways and reached out to turn off the music in the room. Yu Hanran, who was in the middle of singing with the young model sister. "Aren't you going home for dinner?" Bei Yunj asked. At this moment, Yu Hanran really wanted to know what Huashidu was saying to Bei Yunj, but he didn't dare to eavesdrop. He looked at Huashidu with a meaningful gaze. Wasn't the young lady calling at this time to check on him? However, when Huashidu heard this, he lowered his voice and laughed. This flirtatious and seductive look made Yu Hanran's female companion's eyes widen. He said, "Do you not know how to do the questions?" Bei Yunj said calmly, at this moment. Yu Hanran's eyelids twitched when he heard Huashidu's words. What kind of hobby did Master Du have? He liked to teach young girls to do their homework. Chapter 193. Huashidu asked, "What subject?" "I don't know anything." Bei Yunj's words sounded very confident. Huashidu had always known that this young lady was very smart. If her results were not good, it was very likely that her foundation was weak. However, it was not easy for the young lady to study obediently and make up for her past homework. "Then can I go back later?" Huashidu's eyes darkened even more, but there was a casual joke in them. Yu Hanran, who had been eavesdropping, really felt that he almost did not recognize Huashidu in front of him. Was Master Du blooming after 10,000 years? He actually knew how to tease young ladies. However, when he thought of Bei Yunj in her school dress, Yu Hanran felt that Master Du's feelings were full of taboos. Was that Miss Pei an adult? At the same time, Bei Yunj thought of what Aunt Miao had said and her beautiful eyes moved. She thought that Huashidu was addicted to a woman. Therefore, his first impression of Yu Hanran was automatically reduced to, not a good person. "Brother, are you very happy outside?" Hearing this, Huashidu laughed hoarsely. His upturned eyes were charming and ostentatious. "What? Brother, you must come home at 10:30. Bei Yunj thought for a moment and rested her chin on her hand with a smile. She reminded him kindly, also, "Brother, don't pick the wild flowers by the roadside." With that said, she hung up. In the private room, Yu Hanran looked at Huashidu, who seemed to have something to say, and suddenly realized something. Their Master Du had been hung up on by a young lady. "Master Du, look. Young ladies are like this. They're straightforward. How can there be a 26-year-old woman who's flirtatious and sensible?" Yu Hanran hugged his female companions and leaned close to their necks to flirt. Although his female companions were giggling, they stared at Huashidu with a burning gaze. But in the next moment, Huashidu picked up the suit jacket at the side and walked out with his slender and abstinent legs. "Master Du? Where are you going?" Seeing this scene, Yu Hanran was shocked. "Don't we still have a meal? You can handle it." With that, Huashidu pushed open the door, leaving behind a quickly disappearing figure. "Master Du likes young girls?" One of the female companions couldn't help but ask as she stuck close to Yu Hanran. "I say, baby, don't even think about him." Yu Hanran touched her chin, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Smart girls shouldn't seek their own deaths. Hearing this, the female companion shuddered and hurriedly nodded. Seeing this, Yu Hanran also regained his leisure as if nothing had happened just now. In the living room, Bei Yunj glanced at the completed homework, and her eyelids twitched unconsciously. In the end, he could only pretend to flip open the practice questions at the back and pretend that he hadn't touched a single word. However, after that, Bei Yunj recalled that Huashidu should not be back so soon. She did not heave a sigh of relief. On the contrary, there was a faint feeling of displeasure. It was as if something she liked had been taken away by someone else. However, very quickly, Pei Yunj did not take these emotions that she had never felt before to heart. Instead, he continued to organize the information and prepare for the next project. Half an hour later. This was the third time Aunt Miao saw a certain Pei not far away. He quietly picked up his phone, looked at the time, and quietly put it down. Seeing this. Chapter 194. Aunt Miao was about to speak when Huashidu gestured for her not to speak. Bei Yunj, who had nothing left, picked up her phone again. She looked at the time on the screen and fell into deep thought. It was 8:00. This man did not return home even at 10:00. Suddenly, Bei Yunj began to understand how Huashidu felt when he caught her out of the bar. Pei Yunj closed the laptop immediately. However, she never thought that when she looked up, she would see the handsome and dignified man with one knee slightly bent. His slender and well-defined fingers inadvertently loosened the collar of his shirt. He looked lazy and seductive. At this moment, Bei Yunja's gaze followed the man's sexy Adam's apple and the mole. A mole in that position. He was too lustful. Not long after, she looked away slowly. Bei Yunj said, "Brother, you came back quite early." "Really? I thought Yunyun was scolding me in her heart." Huashidu's gentle gaze landed on her and he chuckled in a low and hoarse voice. His deep and magnetic voice tickled her eardrums. It was simply fatal. "No." Bei Yunj raised her head and smiled. "It's rare for brother's old house to catch fire." "Old house?" Huashidu asked. Bei Yunj thought for a moment. Suddenly, she leaned against the coffee table with both hands and cupped her cheeks. Her beautiful eyes curled up as she looked straight at the man's heart. "It's the only place on brother's body that can hide people." Hearing this, the man's unreadable gaze landed on her. After a while, his eyes gradually darkened as if he was intoxicated, but he was staring straight at her. Huashidu's thin red lips curled up. He reached out lazily and gently pinched the back of her neck. His low voice was hopelessly sexy. It was ostentatious, frivolous, and playful. "So, were you the one who started the fire? Little baddie?" This ambiguous gentleness pierced right into her heart. It made people's hearts go numb. At this moment, Bei Yunj also froze. Why did this man make people feel that he was seductive and lustful? Uncontrollable. The image of this man in bed appeared in Bei Yunja's mind. It was simply fatal. "Brother, have you eaten?" Bei Yunj subconsciously changed the topic. "No, I have to rush back to look at the flowers at home." The man smiled faintly. "I take care of them every day. They are much more delicate than the wild flowers outside." Bei Yunj accidentally met with his unwavering eyes to look at her. S2's a little. She stood up and went to look for Aunt Miao. S2's. Seeing this, Huashidu chuckled nonchalantly. Then, he leaned back on the sofa and unbuttoned 2 buttons. Ants. Pei Yunj was still tutored for half an hour before she went upstairs to sleep. The next day. Hengda High School. Why did they all to? The moment Pei Yunj returned, she found that everyone was in a hurry. "Today's the exam." Lu Yuanci said naturally. "When did you find out?" Bei Yunj did not know which examination hall she was in. "Just now." Lu Yuanci patted her shoulder. "It's okay, desk mate. I won't be surprised no matter how much you score." After all, she was someone who had joined the class by donating a building to Hengda. Bei Yunj asked. "How much can you score?" "I can't pass the total score." Chapter 195. Hearing this, Lu Yuanci felt Bei Yunja's gaze on him with faint disdain. Lu Yuanci was speechless. They were about the same and she dared to despise him? "Actually, I'm very good at foreign languages." Lu Yuanci immediately clarified with a proud expression. "It's easy for me to get more than 140 marks. After all, Lu Yuanci grew up overseas and returned to the country in the second year of junior high. You're amazing. Bei Yunj replied casually as she searched for her stationery in the drawer. Lu Yuanci's competitive spirit was immediately aroused. You don't believe me, right? This time, I'll let you realize what a true genius is. With that said, Lu Yuanci left for the examination hall in high spirits. However, Bei Yunja's eyelids moved. She didn't understand why a boy of this age was so silly. The examination seats in Hengda High School were arranged according to results, from the first examination hall to the 10th examination hall. Jiao, you're already like this and you still insist on taking the exam? You're working too hard. The female classmate helped Qin Youjiao to the first examination hall and sat down in the second seat. Qin Youjiao smiled. I feel that my study condition hasn't been too good recently, so I wanted to come and test it. No matter how bad the Almighty's condition is, he's not something we mortals can compare to. The girl pretended to sigh before she said, however, I also want to know what results that Bei Yunj from class 7 can get. I heard that she cheated in the exam and was punished before she changed schools, right? TSK, they're both the eldest young miss of the Qin family. The gap between her and you is too big. Okay, let's not talk about her anymore. Qin Youjiao deliberately restrained her smile and said expressionlessly, I don't want Dad, Mom, and second brother to blame me for anything anymore. When this scene landed in the eyes of others, it made them remember those especially mean words to Qin Youjiao online. Qin Youjiao had only posted a post and didn't cause any substantial harm to Bei Yunj. Besides, she had apologized sincerely. Was there a need for those people to insist on it? At this thought, many people even felt that Bei Yunj was not a good person. At the very least, Qin Youjiao had already apologized and deserved to be scolded so badly. Why wasn't Bei Yunj coming out to help her? Jiao, you don't have to feel guilty. Even if Director Lin is not interested in money, what about Bei Yunj? The female classmate's expression was disdainful, but it was difficult to hide her jealousy in her tone. She was brought up by Director Lin, but doesn't she still want to return to the Qin family? I don't believe that she's doing this for the sake of kinship. In the end, she's still here to compete with you for the family property. Okay, you should go to the examination hall quickly too. Qin Youjiao sighed helplessly. Yes. I'll take my leave then. After the female classmate left, Qin Youjiao smirked at the thought of the parent-teacher conference next week. She really couldn't miss this monthly test. She wanted her second and third brothers to see clearly how unworthy Bei Yunj was to return to the Qin family. Bei Yunj was not familiar with Hengda. When she entered the examination hall, she realized that Lu Yuanci was still sitting next to her. She glanced at Lu Yuanci, who was sleeping on the table, and her eyelids moved. She walked over and knocked on his table. Lu Yuanci, you're sitting in the wrong seat. However, Lu Yuanci clearly did not expect that there would be a day when he would have to give up his position after sitting in the last place for more than a year. Are you getting up? There was a hint of impatience in Bei Yunja's beautiful eyes. Lu Yuanci held back his laughter and slowly moved up a seat. Bei Yunj was speechless. Chapter 196. It was probably because the last 40 students were more fixed. As a result, there was suddenly an eye-catching girl who attracted a lot of attention. However, when the invigilator handed out the papers, the students' attention was diverted and their faces gradually became dejected. At this moment, Bei Yunj glanced at the paper and was about to answer the questions when she remembered how Wuxia patiently taught her the questions yesterday. She stopped writing and thought for a moment. After about 10 minutes of writing, she leaned on the table to rest. After a whole day of exams, Lu Yuanci was still full of confidence in himself. He turned and asked, "Deskmate, how did you do?" "Barely," Bei Yunj said slowly. Hearing this, Lu Yuanci looked at her with pity. He couldn't bear to expose Bei Yunja's stubbornness. Don't worry, I'll still choose you next time when we change seats according to the results. Bei Yunj, after school. Bei Yunj had just left Hengda High School when she was stopped by someone. Bei Yunj turned and saw Mr. Qin walking towards her, attracting a lot of attention. Although Mr. Qin was in his 40s or 50s, he didn't look old. He was wearing a neat suit and his elegant eyes were calm and wise. What's the matter? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Her naturally smiling eyes didn't have any warmth. How have you been recently? Mr. Qin looked uneasy and his throat was dry. Jiao doesn't live with your third brother anymore. Why don't you move back home? During this period, Mr. Qin had thought a lot. He suddenly realized that he owed his daughter a lot. Ever since Bei Yunj returned home, he had only said a few words of concern, but he had never fulfilled his responsibility as a father. And Mrs. Qin was even worse. Mr. Qin, I'm doing very well now and I don't plan to go back. Bei Yunj's eyes were similar to Mrs. Qin's, but they were brighter and more flamboyant. If you can take care of your daughter and wife, I'll lead a better life. Hearing this, Mr. Qin's body froze. The corners of his lips moved subconsciously. You're also my daughter. Before Mr. Qin could finish speaking, he saw Bei Yunj's calm and composed expression. In an instant, his face burned, and he lost his voice. He had no right to say that was his daughter. If you don't like Jiao, then I won't let you see her so much in the future. I know about what happened on Tieba, and I understand that you have been wronged. Mr. Qin's lips moved, but his voice softened as he muttered, but she's still my daughter. I hope you don't hate her. However, Bei Yunj sneered when she heard this. When Father Qin heard this, it was a little jarring. Then, she said casually, Mr. Qin, no matter whose daughter Qinyojiao is, she has to pay back the debt she owes. When Mr. Qin heard this, his heart tightened, and his expression became even more miserable. However, when Bei Yunj saw this scene, she was still indifferent. Don't look for me in the future. I'm very busy. Bei Yunj's tone was cold. With that said, she was ready to leave. Suddenly. Tomorrow night is old Madame Lu's birthday. Are you still going? Mr. Qin's eyes were filled with anticipation. Bei Yunj looked up, her face expressionless. It's the last time. From now on, anything in the Qin family has nothing to do with me. With that said. Chapter 197. Mr. Qin watched as Bei Yunj left. He opened his mouth, but he could not make a sound. His hands clenched into fists helplessly. At this moment, Bei Yunj walked through the crowd. She had only taken a few steps when she suddenly stopped. The man standing under the green shadow casually bit on a cigarette. It made people feel that he was in a romantic mood. But in the next moment, the man's gaze fell on her unwaveringly. His knuckled hand clamped down on the cigarette, and the corners of his lips curled up. A pair of cold and indifferent eyes were staring straight at her. It was a coincidence. Bei Yunj walked towards him and her gaze unconsciously landed on the mole on his Adam's apple. She had an inexplicable urge to touch it. After this thought flashed through her mind, Bei Yunj realized that her hand was already in midair. Very quickly, Bei Yunj reacted and immediately retracted her hand. But who would have thought, at this moment, the man looked down at her casually. His eyes were so dark that they could not be seen clearly. Suddenly, Bei Yunj heard a hoarse and magnetic laughter above her head. It sounded as if it was about to hit the girl's heart ruthlessly. She could not avoid it. Her heart skipped a beat and she instinctively looked up. Brother, at the same time, Huashidu suddenly reached out and gently grabbed her wrist. Then, he nonchalantly threw away the cigarette between his fingers on his other hand. Before Bei Yunj could react, he pulled her wrist gently. With a quick step, she bumped into the embrace of the cold fragrance floating in the air. Have I not hugged you enough in the past? Huashidu rubbed the back of her head gently with his palm. His lazy and frivolous voice and ambiguous gentleness tickled her ears. It was only when she was brought into the car that Bei Yunj realized what was going on. When she reached out to him just now, Huashidu must have mistakenly thought that she wanted to hug him but did not dare to. Soon. Bei Yunj asked belatedly, "Brother, did you see it just now?" "Yes." Huashidu did not hide it and answered indifferently. Just now, he had seen Bei Yunj and Mr. Qin talking not far away. It was also a rare sight for him to see the little girl's cold expression. Huashidu's answer also confirmed Bei Yunj's guess. This man probably thought that she was in a bad mood after quarreling with Mr. Qin. So when she saw him, she wanted to hug him. This misunderstanding was really interesting. What happened? Huashidu looked ahead and asked. No. Bei Yunj glanced at him quickly. Her eyes were curved, and she turned her head to look at the scenery outside the window. Huashidu suddenly said, "Yun." Bei Yunj turned to look at him. Be more reserved. Don't secretly smile after taking advantage of your brother. Huashidu's posture was lazy and light. It was indescribably seductive. His deep and pleasant voice was mixed with the joy of joking. It was simply irredeemably sexy. Bei Yunj simply changed the topic. He came to look for me just now because he wants me to go to the Liu family's birthday banquet tomorrow night. You don't want to go? Go. It's the last time I'll listen to him. Bei Yunj glanced at him again. Brother, why are you free to come and pick me up today? I heard that today is Hengda's February exam. Bei Yunj, why was he more informed than her? Why didn't Yunyun tell me about this? Huashidu asked unhurriedly. Chapter 198. Bei Yunj could not answer for a moment. Huashidu asked again, You don't want to tell me? No. Bei Yunj pulled up her hood and covered most of her face, revealing only her sharp chin. She slowly turned her head away. I only found out today. Hearing this, Huashidu glanced at Bei Yunj. The tip of his throat rolled and he let out a soft laugh. He did not ask further. This child was really difficult to control. The next evening, Bei Yunj went straight to the Liu family. At the Hua Corporation. In the office. Master Du, Miss Pei is going to the Liu family today. Aren't you going to take a look? Zheng Su probed carefully. I've prepared a gift. Just send it over. Hearing the man's words, Guo Su's eyelids twitched. Then why did you keep texting Miss Pei today? You just want Miss Pei to ask you to accompany her. Guo Su cursed silently, but he did not dare to show it on his face. Suddenly, a glint flashed across his eyes and he quickly said, But the Yu family will go. President Yu's appearance will definitely cause another commotion. Commotion? Huashidu raised his pale eyes and looked at him. His slender fingers tapped on the table casually. It's just that, many socialites will think of ways to get close to President Yu. In the past, Zheng Su had always attended those banquets on Huashidu's behalf. He naturally knew how popular Yu Hanran was to those socialites and young ladies. As long as there was competition, these young ladies who claimed to be of noble status would inevitably be jealous. And people like Bei Yunj, who did not know the socialites in the circle, were the easiest to be ostracized. After a while, Zheng Su saw that Huashidu did not speak and said, President Yu knows Miss Pei and will definitely go up to greet her. When that time comes, Miss Pei would become a thorn in his side. However, before he could finish speaking, Huashidu interrupted him. Tell Yu Hanran to know his limits. Huashidu looked up. His tone was light and lazy, but for some reason, it was suffocating. At this moment, even Zheng Su did not react. He had not finished speaking. Why was Master Du so unhappy? Suddenly, He regained his senses and looked at Huashidu with a complicated gaze. President, you couldn't even greet Miss Pei? Wasn't Master Du being too strict with him? In the Liu family. The scenery of the garden was pleasing. The lamplight and candlelight reflected each other's brilliance. The fragrance of clothes and the shadows of hair shadowed the surroundings as they chatted and laughed. Jiao Jiao, you're finally here. Ling Jiwei was wearing a dress that had been specially prepared for her. She looked delicate and charming. My legs, to thank you so much to come all the way here. Qin Youjiao sat in the wheelchair and looked at Cheng Zihuai, who was pushing the wheelchair, with a sweet and shy expression, SSS twos to my's to s to. Of course, it's of her T.S. Qin Youjiao had just finished speaking when suddenly, someone put a suit jacket over her shoulders. She turned around and saw Cheng Zihuai smiling as he said, "The wind is so strong. Don't catch a cold. Aren't you being too biased, Senior Cheng? I'm wearing less than Jiao Jiao. Why aren't you draping it over me?" Ling Jiwei teased. Jiao Jiao is weak. Although Cheng Zihuai said this, his gaze was gentle as he looked at Qin Youjiao. Chapter 199. Tisk, I'm just strong. With that said, Ling Jiwei said enviously, in the past, I always saw Jiao Jiao and Senior Cheng quarreling. Now that I can see the two of you being so sweet, I'm very happy too. At this point, Ling Jiwei suddenly thought of the person in her class. She changed the topic and laughed coldly. Lest some scheming people think of ways to be the third party. Hearing this, Cheng Zihuai's eyes darkened and he did not clarify. Actually, he had deliberately approached Bei Yunj back then to make Qin Youjiao jealous. Although he knew that Bei Yunj had always had a crush on him. Qin Youjiao sized up the people around her casually. Okay, stop talking. Bei Yunj will be here today too. Her. Ling Jiwei's eyes widened and she could not help but laugh coldly. What right does she have to come? Is this a place she can come to? Bei Yunj was completely incompatible with their circle. Which socialite would be willing to interact with someone like Bei Yunj? My father went to look for Bei Yunj. Qin Youjiao's eyelashes fluttered. She was wearing a long white dress and looked pitiful. Uncle Qin is too kind to let Bei Yunj do this. With that said, Ling Jiwei suddenly thought of something and looked at Qin Youjiao excitedly. Oh right, Jiao Jiao, did you know? The Yu family will be here today. Yu Hanran? Qin Youjiao's eyes flashed as she remembered that Yu Hanran and Huashidu had gone to the Qin family last time for Bei Yunj. She clenched her fists unconsciously. That's right. However, there's also the eldest young miss of the Yu family. I heard that President Yu has a very good relationship with Miss Yu. Ling Jiwei was still eager to try. Her excitement could be heard in her voice. That's the Yu family. A true top aristocratic family. How great would it be if I could be friends with Miss Yu? Miss Yu rarely appears at these gatherings. She might not like to make friends. Although Qin Youjiao said this, her thoughts were the same as Ling Jiwei's. If she could make friends with Miss Yu, her status in the circle would also rise. It would also solidify her identity as the eldest daughter of the Qin family. At this thought, Qin Youjiao also comforted herself. Yu Hanran was obviously not familiar with Bei Yunj, and that Mr. Hua, even if he really wanted to protect Bei Yunj, it was just out of interest. Bei Yunj couldn't get close to the Hua family at all. At this thought, Qin Youjiao heaved a sigh of relief secretly and said gently to Ling Jiwei with a smile, however, if you want to get to know Miss Yu, I can help you. Really? Jiao Jiao, I told you, you're my best friend. Ling Jiwei was overjoyed. Meanwhile, on the way, Yu Hanran walked in front expressionlessly. His handsome face was dark. Yu Manran, you're getting bolder and bolder, aren't you? You've been in the entertainment industry for a few years and you're still a D-lister. How dare you challenge me? Unable to take it anymore, he turned around and looked at Yu Manran, who was wearing earphones. "You're the delister." Yu Manran exploded. Yu Hanran smirked and said mockingly, "Among all the girlfriends I've had, there's no one worse than you." Yu Manran couldn't take it anymore and dug out the hot sales of his new album. "Did you see that? I'm already starting to become popular. I'm #1 on the half-year chart." Chapter 200. Yu Manran took a deep breath and looked at him with a fake smile. "I haven't asked for money from my family for several years." "Oh, you've been in the dark for so long." Yu Hanran raised his eyebrows. "Fortunately, you were strong-willed back then and didn't choose to expose your identity. Otherwise, our Yu family wouldn't be able to afford to lose this face. I can't be bothered with you. I'll stay for 20 minutes today." Yu Manran was so angry that he didn't want to talk to him. He rolled his eyes and said arrogantly. She didn't want to make friends with those arrogant people in the industry. Each of them was more annoying than the other. "If I find out that you're gone when we leave the banquet today, don't blame me for buying over that lousy company of yours." Yu Hanran also laughed angrily, not wanting to continue talking to this annoying sister. He glanced at Yu Manran with disdain and suddenly thought of the little girl beside Huashidu. The way she called him older brother softened his heart. It was no wonder that Master Du liked little vixens so much. Who wouldn't like them? "Yu Hanran, how dare you?" "It's good to change it to a square park," Yu Hanran said faintly. Yu Manran was speechless. "Brother, I was wrong." Seeing Yu Manran admit defeat, Yu Hanran snorted and deliberately messed up her hair before he stopped and left. This be ****. Yu Manran gritted his teeth and entered the banquet in his high heels as if he was here to seek revenge. On the marble ground of the garden, there was a grand piano. Qin Youjiao was carried to the piano cushion by Cheng Zihuai in public, causing many young ladies who were familiar with Qin Youjiao to be envious. "I'll listen to you play from the side." Cheng Zihuai smiled and said gently. Qin Youjiao nodded with a red face. "Okay." It was only after Cheng Zihuai left that Ling Jiwei bent down and whispered into Qin Youjiao's ear, "Miss Yu is already here. I heard that she's very interested in piano. Jiao, we'll have to rely on you." Hearing this, a smile appeared on Qin Youjiao's face. She only played the piano keys casually and nodded. "Don't worry." She would seize this opportunity to make the young lady of the Yu family interested in her. Soon. The sound of the piano gradually rang out. It was an unfamiliar tune that he had never heard before, and it was especially eye-catching. Everyone turned to look at the girl in a white dress who was playing the piano. Her appearance was elegant and refined, leaving a deep impression in one's mind. In the next moment, even Yu Manran, who had just arrived at the banquet, was stunned when he heard the skillful and pleasant sound of the piano. She was attracted to the sound of the piano and saw the person playing it clearly. Qin Youjiao was indeed worthy of the title of a young pianist and was indeed a talented young girl. However, at this moment, the first person that Yu Manran thought of was Bei Yunj. At the same age, Bei Yunj's creative ability was already astounding. There were even well-known musicians in the country who took the initiative to contact the composer after hearing her new song. All of this proved that Bei Yunj's terrifying strength had yet to be fully displayed. This person was still a mystery. Yu Manran stared at Qin Youjiao, his thoughts already starting to blank out. She was faintly looking forward to the scene of that person personally playing the piano. How shocking would that be? Before the piano music ended, the person who had just entered had already quietly sat on the swing in the corner. She leaned against it lazily, her expression languid and arrogant. Her black hair, fair skin, and red dress made her look extremely beautiful. Chapter 201. Bei Yunj glanced at Qin Youjiao, who could be vaguely seen in the distance. She then leaned one hand on the handle of the swing and supported her head. She looked free and unrestrained. Even after the piano piece ended, many people's eyes were still unable to move away from Qin Youjiao. Their expressions were either stunned or envious. "Miss you?" Ling Jiwei shouted. When she saw Yu Manran's face clearly, she was stunned. The young lady of the Yu family, was that Yu Manran from the entertainment industry? Why didn't anyone expose this matter? "Who are you?" Yu Manran looked at the uninvited person and frowned slightly with displeasure and coldness. Ling Jiwei was slightly uneasy and nervous. "I heard from a friend that Miss Yu likes music. I didn't expect Miss Yu to be an artiste." Hearing this familiar conversation, Yu Manran was not interested. She crossed her arms and looked at Qin Youjiao not far away. "That young lady is not bad." Hearing Yu Manran praise Qin Youjiao like this, Ling Jiwei's eyes flashed and she was full of smiles. "Yes, her name is Qin Youjiao and she's the eldest young lady of the Qin family. She even had a piano concert tour before and wrote all the pieces herself." With that said, Qin Youjiao had already been pushed over in a wheelchair by Cheng Zihuai. "Wei Wei." Qin Youjiao called out to Ling Jiwei before her eyes landed on Yu Manran. "Is it Miss Yu? You played well." Yu Manran looked at her. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao tried her best to suppress the smile on her lips and said with a smile, "This is my new piece for this year's piano tour. If Miss Yu is free, you can come and listen to it." Because of Qin Youjiao's piano skills, Yu Manran was indeed not as uninterested as when he first came to the banquet. Qin Youjiao had also pulled herself into a relationship with Yu Manran intentionally or unintentionally. At this moment, Ling Jiwei suddenly spoke, her tone gloating. "Jiao Jiao, that person isn't here yet. Could it be that she's afraid?" Qin Youjiao laughed. "Why are you mentioning her all of a sudden?" Then, Qin Youjiao said casually, "She hasn't been back to the Qin family for long, so it's normal that she doesn't know anything." Yu Manran had been in the entertainment industry for many years. How could he not hear the superiority in Qin Youjiao's words? She smirked and her interest in Qin Youjiao immediately disappeared. "Even if she's talented, she can't compare to you, Jiao Jiao." Ling Jiwei deliberately smiled and said, "Other than Miss Yu, no one else can compare to an outstanding person like Jiao Jiao." "Are you talking about the new miss from Jiao Jiao's family?" A few socialites who knew Qin Youjiao came over and giggled. One of them deliberately asked, "Jiao Jiao, how long has it been since she returned to the Qin family? Why didn't you change your surname back?" Hearing this, Ling Jiwei couldn't help but sneer. "Jiao Jiao is so young, but she won the first prize in the piano competition. She's the youngest winner in history. In terms of talent, who could compare to Jiao Jiao? If someone like her has the same surname as Jiao Jiao, it would be too much of a stretch." Hearing this, Qin Youjiao furrowed her eyebrows as well. She did not want to keep mentioning Bei Yunj in such an occasion. Not everyone could be compared to her. But then, before Qin Youjiao could interrupt, Yu Manran suddenly lifted his skirt and walked towards the grand piano. This scene confused the socialites who had just treated Bei Yunj as a joke. "Miss Yu, what are you doing?" Ling Jiwei was confused. As for Qin Youjiao, her smile froze when Yu Manran sat in front of the piano. Chapter 202. Yu Manran played a few keys simply. Not long after, a piano sound that was different from before attracted everyone's attention. On the other hand, Pei Yunj, who was leaning against the swing, looked up and said, "Follow me." At this moment, everyone present was fascinated, but Qin Youjiao's expression did not look too good. From the beginning of this piano piece, it had already tickled people's hearts. The main melody of the piano was clearly vicissitudes of life and had a grand style, but the secondary melody was healing and joyful and romantic. The seemingly contradictory rhythm was compatible, but it sublimated the mood of the piano piece. This kind of score often required very difficult skills to play. And the composer was even more open-minded. His control of the tune and rhythm was like a stroke of genius. After the performance, Qin Yojiao felt like she had been slapped in public. Her expression was ugly, but it was full of smiles. Miss, you played very well. Which famous composer did this score come from? Qin Yojiao could tell that Yu Manran did not know enough about music scores. But this score itself was very difficult to play. It was probably a famous pianist the Yu family had invited. Otherwise, they would not have done this. Not only Qin Yojiao, even the others wanted to know who the person who could make such a score was. Originally, when they heard Qin Yojiao's piano piece, they thought that it was already rare. However, they did not expect that the moment Yu Manran played the score, the former became a bland soup. A famous composer? Yu Manran chuckled and glanced at the socialites who had stepped on the high and flattered the low just now. This was written by a girl about your age. I only played a simplified version. With that said, everyone present was shocked. About the same age as Miss Qin? Is she a god? I've learned piano for so many years and only now do I realize that I'm here to make up the numbers. I thought that Qin Yojiao was already very good at this age. Why is there a big boss now? I don't know music, but it's really nice. The discussions around them started to question Qin Yojiao's talent, making Qin Yojiao feel like she had fallen into a quagmire for the first time. She took a deep breath and tried to sound as calm as possible. May I know who she is? There's no need for that. After Yu Manran finished speaking, he smiled mysteriously. Miss Qin, you are also very powerful, but you have to admit that there is always someone better than you. She could only play the simplified version of the music score in an orderly manner. But if that person were to personally play the original version, it would definitely be a shocking scene. All of a sudden, Yu Manran really wanted to encourage Bai Yunj to go to his concert and play the original song. That scene would definitely explode. However, when Qin Yojiao heard this, she could not smile at all. How could she not tell that Yu Manran had a bad impression of her now? Miss Yu, I understand if you don't like me. Qin Yojiao clenched her fists and said with a generous smile, but I'm afraid it's a little hard to believe that such a song was written by someone my age. The meaning of these words was obvious. She was questioning the truth of Yu Manran's words. Miss Qin, do you think that if you can't write it, others can't write it either? Chapter 203. With that said, the entire venue fell silent. Although there were many socialites who played the piano well, no one dared to say that they could play 1/3 of the piano piece just now. This score was too difficult to control. At this moment, Qin Yojiao smiled as well. Miss Yu, I didn't say this on purpose. But there are some things that sound ridiculous. At this moment, many people agreed with Qin Yojiao's words. Such a piece did not seem like it could be written by a person in her teens or 20s. If that was the case, then she was too talented. Yu Manran looked at this hypocritical face and gritted his teeth in anger when he heard this. Then she laughed coldly and looked around, wanting to find Yu Hanran. No one knew that Yu Hanran had a strong memory for music. Usually, after listening to a piece once, he could play it perfectly. But at this critical moment, Yu Hanran actually King disappeared for her? Yu Manran's expression darkened. At this moment, Yu Hanran had unknowingly walked to Bai Yunja's side. He was interested. Miss Pei, can't you tell that that silly girl is speaking up for you? He was not standing far away just now and had heard the discussion of the group of girls. Yu Manran was still the same as before. He even defended people he didn't know. President Yu, you don't even care about your sister? Bai Yunj raised her eyebrows, a faint smile in her eyes. Hearing this, Yu Hanran did not expect this little girl to guess his relationship with Yu Manran. That score is quite difficult. Yu Hanran's tone was teasing. Why don't you call and ask Master Du to support you? He's very good at the piano and violin. He also wanted to see how important this little girl was to Master Du. Really? I'll listen to it in the future. Bei Yunja's eyes were presumptuous and flamboyant, but she was bright and charming, making people dazed. Hearing this, Yu Hanran only understood after a while. This little girl only liked to eat alone and did not want others to hear Huashidu play the piano. Yu Hanran was speechless. This little girl's possessiveness was quite scary. However, before Yu Manran could continue speaking, Bei Yunj slowly stood up when he caught a glimpse of Yu Manran's face turning red. She casually straightened her skirt and walked into the crowd. However, Bei Yunj's reaction also surprised Yu Hanran. What was Bei Yunj doing? Could it be that she could play the piano? After obtaining this understanding, Yu Hanran still didn't dare to be sure. It was not that he had not checked Bei Yunj. In Hengda High School, Bei Yunj was the epitome of an ignorant and incompetent troublemaker. How was this the obedient girl who would be influenced by art after class? "Miss Yu, do you know anyone at the banquet?" Qin Yui asked with a coy smile. Cheng Zihuai, who was standing behind Qin Youjiao, also looked at Yu Manran coldly, thinking that he was deliberately finding trouble with Qin Youjiao. Even if Yu Manran's gaze was cold. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. Yu Manran. The moment he finished speaking, Yu Manran's eyes lit up when he saw Bei Yunj. She never thought that she would meet Bei Yunj here. However, after that, she felt inexplicably guilty. Could it be that Gu had seen her playing her song and fighting with someone? Gu, Yu Manran's tone was weak. Chapter 204. At the same time, everyone subconsciously followed Yu Manran's line of sight. In an instant, a trace of amazement flashed across their eyes. The girl who walked over had black hair and fair skin. She was wearing a long red dress with a V-neck and thin straps. Her waist was tied up, outlining an extremely high-class sexiness. She had a pair of soul-stirring eyes. The smile in her eyes did not reach her eyes, but she was languid and charming. Which family's young lady's appearance was real? At this moment, a trace of strong jealousy flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes and her eyes darkened. These two people actually knew each other. Soon. Qin Youjiao said with a smile, "Is she the only friend Miss Yu knows on the show?" Yu Manran could not help but look at Qin Youjiao, his eyes dark. Where did this elder young miss get her sense of superiority from? Didn't she know that she had already shown off in front of the big boss? "Yes, she's the only friend I know on the show." Yu Manran chuckled and said indifferently. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao gritted her teeth and clenched her fists unconsciously. She had just said so much to Yu Manran, planning to make Yu Manran one of her own. But now, she found out that Yu Manran was actually willing to be friends with someone like Bei Yunj. This woman was really crazy. Not only Qin Youjiao, but Ling Jiwei and the rest beside her also had ugly expressions. Ling Jiwei gave a fake smile. "Miss Yu, were you deceived by Bei Yunj? What's so good about her that you want to be friends with such a person?" Hearing this, Yu Manran's eyes turned cold. This gaze made Ling Jiwei inexplicably afraid and she avoided his gaze. A person who's worth it is worth it everywhere. Yu Manran raised an eyebrow and chuckled, but the coldness in his eyes did not disappear. Hearing this, Ling Jiwei's expression was ugly, but she did not dare to offend the Yu family. Suddenly, Qin Youjiao spoke. "Since that's the case, it looks like you can definitely help Miss Yu prove what she said just now, right?" Bei Yunja's lips curved upwards as her gaze landed on Qin Youjiao. "Qin Youjiao, leave some leeway for yourself." Hearing this, Qin Youjiao thought that Bei Yunj was threatening her and could not help laughing. "Yunj, if you don't know how, then forget it. I don't think Miss Yu will blame you." Qin Youjiao's intention to drive a wedge between Bei Yunj and Yu Manran was obvious. Bei Yunj turned her head and looked at the pitiful Yu Manran. The corners of her eyes twitched slightly. Suddenly, Bei Yunj. Cheng Zihuai had an impatient expression as he warned coldly, don't embarrass the Qin clan. Cheng Zihuai, there are so many people here. Can't you say something human? Bei Yunj glanced at him lazily and said unhurriedly. You. Cheng Zihuai's handsome face darkened. Did this woman really think that it was so easy to enter the Hua family? She was actually so arrogant. Bei Yunj ignored him and walked towards the grand piano. She lifted the hem of her silk dress slowly and sat by the piano. 1/3, right? Bei Yunja's red lips curved and her slender legs were crossed under her dress. They were so fair that they were dazzling. Just sitting in front of the piano was a type of charm. Yes. If I can prove it for her, will you apologize to her too? Bei Yunj asked. Of course, but if you can't prove it for her, then apologize to me on behalf of Miss Yu. Qin Youjiao did not hesitate. Even she could not do this condition. Sure. Bei Yunj snorted and her slender fingers slid across the black and white keys. Chapter 205. Does she know what kind of honor Jiao has received since she was young? Ling Jiwei could not help laughing mockingly. Hearing this, Yu Manran snorted coldly and stared fixedly at Bei Yunj. She had never heard Bei Yunj play the piano, but how could someone who could write such a score play badly? At this thought, Yu Manran's eyes became more and more expectant. After that, under everyone's watchful gazes, Bei Yunj's slender fingers danced. However, from the moment the first key fell, Qin Youjiao's lips twitched and the sarcasm in her eyes was not hidden. She thought that this Bei Yunj had some confidence. However, she did not expect her to play the first key wrong. She had really overestimated her. Miss Yu, the song Yunj played seems to be very different from the one you played just now. Qin Youjiao was very confident in her professional field. Yu Manran furrowed his eyebrows, not quite understanding what was going on with Bei Yunj's song. However, she did not think that Bei Yunj had played it wrong. Did she play it wrong? The style is too different. The people around started to discuss. Yeah, I can't tell what's the same between these two songs. Didn't we agree to repeat the score just now? It's nice, but this is completely different from Miss Yu's song just now. At this moment, Ling Jiwei, who was beside her, also had a mocking expression. She could not help laughing and saying, I really thought that she could play a few notes. I didn't expect her to dare to show off when she doesn't know anything. It sounds nice too. The socialite beside Ling Jiwei said softly. So what if it's nice? Ling Jiwei immediately turned to look at her and laughed coldly. She didn't write this song. I wonder how long she practiced to reach this level. Hearing this, the socialite beside her was speechless. But she had a feeling that this song was a little familiar, at this moment. Yu Hanran stood not far away as he watched Bei Yunj play the piano. A hint of surprise and amazement flashed across his eyes. He thought that Bei Yunj really didn't know anything. He had hidden it too well. This time, Master Du has really picked up a treasure. Yu Hanran chuckled. Soon. The sound of the guqin gradually stopped. Bei Yunj glanced at Qin Youjiao, his lazy voice slightly playful. Miss Qin, isn't it time for you to fulfill your promise? Hearing this, Qin Youjiao found it ridiculous. Bei Yunj had the courage to ask her to apologize even though she didn't make a single sound right. Bei Yunj, we're not deaf. Do you think you've hit the right note? Qin Youjiao's eyes were filled with sarcasm. Even Cheng Zihuai, who was behind her, looked at Bei Yunj with disdain. Yes. Bei Yunj, don't go back on your word. You should be the one apologizing to Jiao. Ling Jiwei immediately chimed in. She felt as if she had vented her anger. Suddenly, a voice sounded not far away. She didn't play it wrong. Hearing this, everyone looked at Yu Hanran instinctively, not understanding why he would say this. She used the secondary melody of the music score to adapt it. The first and last parts were played in reverse. The moment Yu Hanran said this, the smile on Qin Yojiao's face froze. The rest of the people were even more stunned. Played in reverse? So, not only did this girl play it correctly, she even changed the tune on the spot? Impossible. Ling Jiwei's voice was sharp and ear-piercing. Chapter 206. How was this possible? Even Jiao said that this score would be very difficult to learn. How could Bei Yunji be able to play it after listening to it once? Not only Ling Jiwei, even Qin Yojiao's expression was exceptionally ugly. She stared at Bei Yunji with dark eyes. Impossible. Back then, when Bei Yunji had just returned to the Qin family, she had deliberately tested Bei Yunji's ability. Not to mention the piano, she was clearly someone who couldn't even understand music. Miss Pei played the entire song. She repeated exactly 1/3 of Manman's song. Yu Hanran smirked lightly, but he was even more confused about Bei Yunji. He could barely remember the score just now, but if he wanted to play it as easily as Bei Yunji, he would need at least a week to practice. In the end, this person even changed it on the spot. At this moment, Yu Manran immediately understood. Changed it on the spot. Did she think that it was unfair to repeat the score she wrote? At this thought, Yu Manran looked at Bei Yunji with a complicated gaze. However, with changing it like this, it seemed to be a slap to Qin Yojiao and the rest's faces, although, looking at their expressions now, it was really satisfying. Impossible. You must have learned this score secretly long ago. You did it on purpose. Ling Jiwei lost her composure and said sharply, before she pointed at Bei Yunji and Yu Manran. You're friends. You must know Yu Manran's score too. Yu Manran was speechless. How could he not know? She was the one who King wrote this score. Bei Yunji laughed carelessly. There was no guilt in her eyes, but they were bright and charming. Hearing this, a glint flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes. However, in the next moment, before Qin Yojiao and the rest could heave a sigh of relief and were about to ridicule Bei Yunji, Bei Yunji suddenly played the piano again. Within half a minute, Qin Yojiao's face gradually turned pale and she felt cold all over. *CK. Isn't this Qin Yojiao's song just now? You can repeat this after just one play? Amazing. Is this the new young lady of the Qin family? How ruthless. Of course. Do you know who raised her? Principal Lin Longjun. Wait, who are you talking about? Lin Longjun? That Dean Lin of Yincheng University. Damn, didn't we agree to go to the orphanage? Yes, the orphanage opened by Director Lin. She was truly the heaven's chosen one. To think that he would encounter Dean Lin Longjun after being left behind. Who could be as lucky as him? I don't think I have the chance to listen to Miss Qin's music score, right? Bei Yunji repeated the score that Qin Yojiao had played just now without missing a single detail. This scene caused goosebumps to rise all over their bodies. Even Qin Yojiao might not be able to do such a thing. In an instant, Qin Yojiao's back was filled with coldness as she stared at Bei Yunji with dark eyes. Only Mrs. Qin and Cheng Zihuai knew about this score. It was impossible for Bei Yunji to know about it. So, Bei Yunji didn't know how to play the piano at all. She had been pretending all this time. Bei Yunji, were you lying to me before? Qin Yojiao stared at Bei Yunji darkly. I thought that Miss Qin wanted me to play it so strongly because you knew that I knew how to play it. Bei Yunji said lazily. Chapter 207. If she did not go along with Bei Yunji's words at this time, everyone would think that she was deliberately making things difficult for Bei Yunji. Qin Yojiao gritted her teeth secretly. After a long time, she took a deep breath and forced a smile. I didn't expect you to be so good at the piano, Yunji. Hearing the discussions of the people around Qin Yojiao and Bei Yunji, Ling Jiwei could not help but speak up for Qin Yojiao. It's not difficult to arrange the music. That score is good to begin with. It won't be bad no matter how you change it. She's just being opportunistic. Then why don't you try being opportunistic? Yu Manran, who was beside her, said slowly. Hearing this, Ling Jiwei wanted to say something but stopped herself, her face flushing red. She bit her lip, not daring to really anger Yu Manran. Okay, this matter ends here. Cheng Zihuai glanced at Bei Yunj with slightly dark eyes. Indeed, he did not expect Bei Yunj to know how to play the piano, and she was not worse than Jiao. His tone slowed down. Jiao didn't mean to make things difficult for you. There's no need to embarrass anyone in public. His meaning was obvious. Cheng Zihuai planned to protect Qin Youjiao and not let her apologize. Hearing this, a smug smile appeared on Qin Youjiao's lips as she glanced at Bei Yunj provocatively. So what if she won? Zihuai was still on her side. Yunj, don't misunderstand Zihuai. Don't be unhappy because of this, Qin Youjiao bit her lip and said. Hearing this, Yu Manran was in disbelief. How could there be such a high-level green tea? Then, Yu Manran laughed coldly, putting on the airs of a spoiled young lady with ease. I don't know if Gu is happy or not, but I'm not happy. Miss Qin, don't forget. The person you promised to apologize to just now was me. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao's expression froze. Bei Yunj, what do you think of this? Cheng Zihuai suddenly asked. He had been staring at Bei Yunj. This was the first time he had lowered himself to talk to her. If it was in the past, Bei Yunj would have been so happy that she would not care about anything else. I think it's better for you to shut up first. Bei Yunj spoke slowly, and Cheng Zihuai's face turned ashen when he heard this. Bei Yunj, you. Bei Yunj did not even look at Cheng Zihuai as he said unhurriedly, President Yu, your sister is being bullied. Aren't you going to do anything about it? Yu Hanran, who was about to watch the show, this girl was really too vicious. She treated others as tools and used them so skillfully. Yu Hanran had no choice but to step forward and walk to Yu Manran's side. He glanced at Yu Manran. Before Yu Manran could feel touched, he sneered. Yu Hanran was still flirtatious. He raised his glass of red wine to Cheng Zihuai and looked a little negligent. He raised his eyebrows and said, a child of the Cheng family? Cheng Zihuai moved his lips but did not speak. This person's aura was a bit similar to the person from the Hua family. Although it was not that oppressive, it still made him feel a little uncomfortable. Yu Hanran's smile did not reach his eyes. Although I don't like to use my status to suppress people, Man is my family's only elder young miss after all. If the Cheng family finds out that you slapped the Yu family's face in public for a little sister, will they be able to sleep? Yu Hanran gave people the feeling that he was a smiling tiger. But he could pounce over and bite someone's throat at any moment. In this venue, only Bei Yunj dared to use Yu Hanran as a tool. At this moment, Cheng Zihuai's face turned red, as if he had been mocked in public. Chapter 208. Seeing this, Qin Youjiao could not help gritting her teeth and glancing at Bei Yunj gloomily. How could she not know that the Yu family was more powerful than the Cheng family? After all, that was an aristocratic family that could even talk to the Hua family. She looked at Cheng Zihuai's handsome face and knew that Cheng Zihuai could not help her anymore. Qin Youjiao gritted her teeth and could only hold it in. I spoke inappropriately about this matter and made Miss Yu unhappy. I'll apologize to Miss Yu here. She looked at Yu Manran. After mentally preparing herself, she took a deep breath. I'm sorry, Miss Yu. I shouldn't have doubted you in public. The different gazes around made Qin Youjiao feel that she had embarrassed herself today. Seeing Qin Youjiao apologize, Cheng Zihuai felt like he had been humiliated in public and looked at Bei Yunj with dark eyes. He could not touch the Yu family. However, Bei Yunj was the one who started all of this. Cheng Zihuai clenched his fists. As long as he entered the A.M. Computing Institute and developed the Cheng Corporation's information technology industry into the top industry in the country, he would make Bei Yunj regret going against him now sooner or later. At this thought, Cheng Zihuai's expression softened and he pushed Qin Youjiao away. Soon, Yu Hanran walked in front of Bei Yunj and smiled insincerely. "Little girl, shouldn't you thank me for helping you so much? Did Qin Youjiao apologize to me?" Yu Hanran was speechless. Why does this little girl look like Master Du? I wonder why Master Du likes a little girl like you, Yu Hanran muttered unconsciously. Hearing this, Bei Yunj suddenly remembered something and smiled brightly. "Although I know President Yu's usual habits, I still hope that if President Yu doesn't have anything serious to do, it's best if you don't bring your friends out to play." How could Yu Hanran not tell that Bei Yunj was trying to say that he was a playboy? All of a sudden, Yu Hanran knew why Bei Yunj said that. It was because of the time when he and Huashidu met their business partner at the clubhouse. "Little girl, you've really wronged me this time. That time, I had something to discuss. Otherwise, how capable do you think I am to ask Master Du out?" Yu Hanran could not help but laugh. In his heart, he was even more curious about Huashidu and Huajiniao. Originally, he thought it was the big bad wolf and the little white rabbit, but he didn't expect it to be a little fox. Interesting. After listening to the explanation, Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. She did not expect that she had received the wrong information. "I see." Bei Yunj nodded and left after saying a few words. "Thank you for your hard work." Yu Hanran, after Bei Yunj left, Yu Manran changed into a pair of lower heels and came back. "Where's Go-er? Where's Go-er?" Yu Manran looked excited. Yu Hanran glanced at her. "When did you meet her?" "Just last month." Wasn't it because, Yu Manran was about to say something, but she was worried about Bei Yunj and shut her mouth. She rolled her eyes and left. "It's none of your business." Yu Hanran, after watching this big show, everyone thought that today's gossip would be over. However, they did not expect to see Mother Qin, who was wearing a lake blue cheongsam, appear in front of everyone. Everyone knew that Mother Qin had publicly severed ties with her daughter who had just been found. Chapter 209. The Qin family must have monopolized the gossip business this year. Since the second half of the year, their family has been gossiping non-stop. A baby-faced girl was speechless. Yes, if it were our family, no one would be willing to listen. The baby-faced girl was speechless. Sorry for the interruption. She was not worthy. There were also many guests in the living room. When Mrs. Qin arrived, many rich madams surrounded her. After all, the Qin family's 3 sons and their beloved daughter had always been popular in the circle. "Mrs. Qin, you're finally here. Is it only the daughter of the family today? Are the young masters so difficult to invite?" A madam joked. "It's too difficult to manage the 3 of them. They rarely come home and have their own opinions," Mrs. Qin said with a smile. "That's a blessing. All 3 of her sons are so outstanding." "That's right. Not to mention the 3 sons, the daughter is also amazing. No one has been able to catch up to our Jiao Jiao since she was young, right?" Mrs. Qin did not lose her composure when she heard the flattery around her. She smiled gracefully. Unexpectedly, suddenly, a madam who had just returned from the garden and was obviously not familiar with the news on the internet said frankly, "Mrs. Qin's other daughter is also very good, isn't she? I saw her playing the piano in the garden just now. She's even better than Jiao Jiao." Hearing this, the harmonious atmosphere suddenly froze. One of the madams saw that Mrs. Qin's expression was not very good. She immediately pulled the honest madam and said with a smile, "What are you talking about? Jiao Jiao's piano skills are one of the best in the circle." The madams present all thought that this honest madam was deliberately bragging about Bei Yunj to curry favor with Mrs. Qin. However, she should have at least asked around and found out that Mrs. Qin and the new daughter had already broken off their relationship. I'm not joking. The madam, who looked extremely young, continued to speak stubbornly. You didn't see it, but the eldest miss of the Yu family and Jiao only played the zither once, and she played every single one of them. That's amazing. She's really a genius. These words were like a slap to Mrs. Qin's face. However, this madam still looked at Mrs. Qin with approval. Nurture her well. She'll definitely bring more honor to your family than Jiao. Mrs. Qin suppressed the displeasure on her face and maintained her composure. That's not my daughter. I only have one daughter, Jiao. What did you say? The young madam was stunned. I've severed ties with her. Mrs. Li, please don't mention her to me. Mrs. Qin's tone was distant and cold. She's so pretty and smart. Mrs. Qin, you. Mrs. Li thought it was ridiculous. Who wouldn't want to nurture a famous artist? Is Mother Qin crazy? Done. Mother Qin's face darkened and she sneered, what do you mean by learning how to play after listening to it once? I don't even know what tricks she used. Even the madams beside her were at a loss for words. Even if the relationship was severed, Bei Yunj was still Mrs. Qin's biological daughter. How could he splash dirty water on his own daughter in front of outsiders? Mrs. Li looked at Mrs. Qin's dark face and didn't want to continue being annoying. She could only sigh. That girl was beautiful, had an unbelievably good temperament, and played the piano well. Mrs. Qin didn't know who would be at a disadvantage if she didn't acknowledge such a daughter. Chapter 210. Mrs. Li sighed. In her heart, she still wanted to build a good relationship with Bei Yunj. This girl was born with a noble appearance. If she was her daughter, she could be a vegetarian for a year. Mrs. Qin, can you give me her contact number? Mrs. Li stepped on the tiger's tail, her expression still sincere. Mrs. Qin's expression darkened and she only said 2 words. Delete it. At this moment, the other madams were afraid that Mrs. Qin would flare up on the spot. Fortunately, Qin Youjiao arrived not long after. Mom, why are you only here now? Qin Youjiao said with a smile. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin immediately turned around and walked to Qin Youjiao's side, saying with heartache, I already said that the injury on your leg hasn't healed yet, but you still insisted on coming over to celebrate old Madame Lu's birthday. I was training overseas for a year and didn't come to see Grandma Lu. I definitely have to come this time. Hearing this, Mrs. Qin's attention was not on these words. Instead, she noticed Qin Youjiao's red eyes. Jiao, why are your eyes red? Did you cry just now? Changing the topic, Mrs. Qin's expression darkened. It's Bei Yunj, isn't it? Mrs. Qin, what are you talking about? Miss Pei didn't do anything, Mrs. Li said unhappily. Hearing this, the other madams looked at Mrs. Li with admiration. This Mrs. Li was a tough person. Suddenly, Cheng Zihuai said, Auntie Qin, I'm sorry. I didn't take good care of Jiao. How can I blame you for this? Hearing this, Mrs. Qin's expression softened, but she hated Bei Yunj even more. As long as she came, Jiao would be in trouble. Jinx. Everyone knew who Mrs. Qin was talking about. At this moment, Qin Youjiao grabbed Mrs. Qin's hand. Mom, it's okay. I've done something to let her down before. Mrs. Qin's expression was terrible as she pursed her lips and remained silent. All of a sudden. What's wrong with Auntie Qin? Not far away, someone laughed. Hearing this, the darkness on Mrs. Qin's face disappeared. She went forward to hold the person's hand and said lovingly, Yun Nua, why are you here? This was the eldest young lady of the Yun family and the second daughter-in-law that Mrs. Qin wanted to matchmake. For Qin Yu, Yun Nuk was willing to develop in the entertainment industry. Now, she was a popular celebrity in the industry. I wanted to see Auntie and Sister Jiao Jiao. Yun Nuo looked at Qin Yojiao in surprise. Jiao Jiao, what happened to your leg? It's nothing. I accidentally fell. Qin Yojiao chuckled. Yun Nuo frowned. She had seen the news online too. She didn't know what was wrong with Qin Yu. He was suddenly so good to that new sister. And his relationship with Qin Yojiao seemed to have worsened. Jiao Jiao, what happened between you and your second brother? Yun Nuo asked gently. I don't know either. Second brother might have heard something from someone. Qin Yojiao lowered her head and gripped her skirt tightly. Mother Qin sneered, what else could it be? Someone came back and turned the Qin family upside down. Hearing this, Mrs. Li restrained herself from arguing with Mrs. Qin. She rolled her eyes elegantly and left with her wine glass. This family seemed to be sick in the head. She was such a good daughter, yet he despised her. Yun Nuo glanced at Mrs. Li who had left. She didn't know if she should interfere in the Qin family's matters, although she had always had a good relationship with Qin Yojiao. However, this was also to be with Qin Yu. Sister, the desserts here are not bad. Qin Yojiao suddenly took a few macarons for her and revealed the diamond necklace on her wrist intentionally or unintentionally. Chapter 211. A dark look flashed past Yun Nuo's eyes. That was the only one Qin Yu had bought at an auction in our nation. Back then, she thought that Qin Yu would give it to her, but she didn't expect him to give it to Qin Yojiao. This also showed how much Qin Yu loved his sister. At this thought, Yun Nuo concluded that Bei Yunj was too scheming and caused Qin Yu and Qin Yojiao to have a bad relationship. After all, they had been siblings for more than 10 years. At this thought, a smile appeared on Yun Nuo's face. She bent down and said to Qin Yojiao, Jiao Jiao, Sister Yun Nuo will settle this for you. Just have fun. Sister Yun Nuo, you, Qin Yojiao frowned, looking very worried. I'm from the Yun family. No one will say anything about you. No one can touch me. Hearing this, a strange glint flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes. She did not tell Yun Nuo that Bei Yunj was staying at Huashida's place. Bei Yunj followed the street lights and strolled around the garden. Half an hour later, she returned to the banquet. At the same time, Yun Nuo waited for about 10 minutes before she saw Bei Yunj. A trace of surprise flashed past her eyes. She had seen Bei Yunj before, but at that time, Bei Yunj gave people the feeling that she was introverted and gloomy, making people feel uncomfortable just by looking at her. However, she never thought that Bei Yunj would completely change her appearance now. Miss Pei. After Yun Nuo regained her senses, she walked up to Bei Yunj. What's the matter? Bei Yunj glanced at her, her tone lazy. She walked to the long table, took some food, and placed it on the plate. I know that you've never liked Jiao Jiao, but no matter what, Jiao Jiao has lived with her 3 brothers for so many years. Yun Nuo smiled and said, you can't compare to her. Hearing this, Bei Yunj was not unhappy at all. Instead, she snorted. She glanced at Yun Nuo calmly and raised an eyebrow, looking extremely charming. I can't compare to her. Why are you still talking to me? For a moment. Promise. Yun choked on her words, and her face turned red. She didn't expect Bei Yunj to speak like a completely different person. What did you say to Qin Yu? Bei Yunj glanced at her indifferently. She remembered that in the original novel, Qin Yu had indeed gotten together with Yun Nuo in the end, so she couldn't be bothered to say anything. She slowly ate the dessert, but when Yun Nuo saw this, her face darkened. She rarely met anyone who gave her such an attitude. Not long after. Before Bei Yunj could pick up the steeped oolong tea, Yun Nuo suddenly moved her elbow and bumped into Bei Yunj's hand. She knocked over the oolong tea that Bei Yunj had just picked up. Seeing this, Bei Yunj's expression did not change. Yun Nuo smiled and poured a glass of water for Bei Yunj. Drink some water. Isn't it good? A moment later, Bei Yunj took the water from Yun Nuo. At this moment, the smile in Yun Nuo's eyes deepened. However, in the next moment, before Yun Nuo could say anything, Bei Yunj suddenly raised the glass of water. She calmly met Yun Nuo's gaze, her moist red lips curving. In an instant, a steady stream of warm water poured from Yun Nuo's head to her tail. It made Yun Nuo scream involuntarily. It also attracted everyone's attention. "Miss Yun, are you awake? If you're awake, take care of yourself in the future." Bei Yunj's eyes were filled with viciousness. If it was the people around Bei Yunj in her previous life, they would all know that although Bei Yunj liked to eat desserts, she had to have tea to relieve her boredom after the meal. Chapter 212. Yun Nuo had hit the nail on the head at the right time. Bei Yunj? For the first time, anger surged in Yun Nuo's chest. It kept hitting her rationality as she gritted her teeth and stared at Bei Yunj. At this moment, everyone saw that Yun Nuo was drenched and standing in front of Bei Yunj in a sorry state. There was also a broken teacup on the ground. It was obvious that this was the prelude to a fight. However, Bei Yunj ignored Yun Nuo's presence and walked to the side, drinking her tea slowly. Seeing this, everyone's interest was piqued. Was it that good? However, Yun Nuo's expression was distorted. She was so angry that she wanted to raise her hand and teach Bei Yunj a lesson. This thought flashed through Yun Nuo's mind. Soon, she really took a step forward and raised her hand. Suddenly, "Yun Nuo, what do you want to do?" The man's deep voice was cold. Instantly, Yun Nuo jumped in fright and turned to look at him instinctively. "Qin Yu. I was the one who poured water on me first." Yun Nuo bit her lip and looked at Qin Yu with red eyes. Qin Yu had never been fierce to her before. Qin Yu pursed his lips and walked to Bei Yunj's side without a word. His voice suddenly became gentle. "Gu, are you all right?" Bei Yunj's eyelids moved and she saw the nervousness in Qin Yu's eyes. "I'm fine." "Qin Yu. I was bullied. Are you blind?" Yun Nuo's usual temper flared up and she shouted angrily. If it was before, no matter how unhappy Qin Yu was, he would only ignore her. However, at this moment, she saw Qin Yu slowly turn around, his eyes cold and distant. "Stay away from Gu in the future." Yun Nuo's body froze, as if she was filled with coldness. "I'm just teaching her for you. I don't really hate her," she explained immediately. Yun Nuo was really afraid that Qin Yu would ignore her. "Do I need you to teach me?" Qin Yu chuckled carelessly, but his tone was sarcastic. At this moment, Yun Nuo completely knew why Mrs. Qin and Qin Yojiao hated Bei Yunj so much. What right did she have to make Qin Yu protect her like this? Even if they were biological siblings, they were just strangers who had only met a few times. "Qin Yu, didn't you realize that because of her, your relationship with your family is already bad?" Qin Yu's arrogant eyes were filled with impatience. "Are you done? If you're done, don't ever appear in front of me again." "Qin Yu. How long have we known each other? How many times have you met her?" "Yun Nuo, I'll say it again. I don't like you at all. Don't make me say anything more unpleasant. Let's leave some dignity for each other." Qin Yu rarely embarrassed the opposite sex in public. Although he looked cold and arrogant, he respected girls very much. But this time, Yun Nuo had touched Qin Yu's reverse scale. Yun Nuo looked at Qin Yu. Seeing that he did not care about their relationship at all, she could not help but tear up. She had never suffered such grievances in her entire life. "Sister Yun Nuo, why are you crying?" Suddenly, Qin Yojiao and Cheng Zihuai came over. Qin Yojiao comforted Yun Nuo and said softly, "Second brother won't really ignore you. Sister Yun Nuo, it'll be fine in a few days." With that said, a dark look flashed past her eyes. She did not expect Qin Yu to return at this time. She did not expect Qin Yu to not even care about Yun Nuo's face. Suddenly. Chapter 213. Hearing this, Yun Nuo's face, which was already covered in tears, paled instantly. Qin Yojiao's expression also froze and her hand that was wiping Yun Nuo's tears froze. A thought appeared in her mind. Was second brother doing this to slap her face? Qin Yu, I was wrong. Can you not be angry? Yun Nuo regretted it in her heart, but she hated Bei Yunj even more for being doted on by Qin Yu. Even Qin Yojiao back then had never made her feel so unbalanced. However, at this moment, Yun Nuo was even more afraid that Qin Yu would really refuse to appear on the screen with her. If that happened, their CP fans would definitely drop. They would also definitely sense Qin Yu's cold attitude towards her. You should apologize to my sister, not me. Qin Yu snorted, his tone cold. These words made Yun Nuo's face turn red and pale. She was the elder young miss of the Yun family after all. Even if it was Qin Yojiao, she couldn't lower her head and apologize, let alone Bei Yunj. Suddenly. There's no need. Bei Yunj said slowly, Miss Yun, you just have to take care of yourself. Yun Nuo gritted her teeth and looked at Bei Yunj angrily. However, when she felt Qin Yu's cold gaze, her expression changed immediately. It's Sister Yun's fault. Sister Yun will apologize to you. Yunj, can you forgive me? Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes relaxed and she looked bright and arrogant. No, Sister Yun. In an instant. The atmosphere was cold and silent. Yun Nuo's expression was distorted. If Qin Yu wasn't beside Bei Yunj, Yun Nuo wanted to rush up and tear Bei Yunj's face apart. Suddenly. Desk mate? A low and casual young man's voice rang out. Bei Yunj turned around and saw Lu Yuanci wearing a black t-shirt and flip-flops. His hair was messy and fluffy as he appeared in front of her. The boy was tall and handsome. He didn't look sloppy at all. Instead, he looked lazy and cute. Bei Yunj suddenly remembered. Lu Yuanci, the Lu family. No wonder the teachers in the school treated him like an ancestor. Yuanci, who are you calling? An old lady with a clear voice appeared in front of everyone. Grandma, this is my desk mate. Lu Yuanci glanced at old Madame Lu, then raised his chin towards Bei Yunj. Your desk mate? A woman? Old Madame Lu's heart skipped a beat. When she turned around and saw Bei Yunj clearly, she was even more shocked. Wasn't this the girl she had tried to blackmail last time? Didn't she still have a son and a very handsome and young husband? Bei Yunj, who met the old madame's gaze, was speechless. To think that there was such a fate. You're not that. That. Bei Yunj interrupted old Madame Lu with a smile. My name is Bei Yunj. I've met old Madame Lu before. This scene confused Qin Yu and the others. They did not know how the two of them had met. Only Lu Yuanci rubbed the back of his head and suddenly remembered something. Last month, he had seen his grandma blackmailing a girl on the streets and wanted to introduce her to him. Suddenly, Lu Yuanci's expression darkened. This old lady had even blackmailed Bei Yunj? Had she gone crazy from missing her granddaughter-in-law? Soon. Old Madame Lu roughly understood what was going on, but she was not angry. Instead, she was full of smiles. Yes, we've met before. The two of us are fated to meet. Chapter 214. Hearing this, everyone felt a little strange. What's wrong, old madam? Are you planning to acknowledge a granddaughter on the spot? Lu Yuanci sneered slowly. Old Madame Lu almost couldn't maintain her smile. It was too difficult to get a granddaughter-in-law. This foolish grandson was so disappointing. At this moment, Mrs. Qin and the other madams, who did not know what was going on, walked over. When they saw old Madame Lu, a glint flashed past their eyes. She went forward to hold old Madame Lu's hand and said with a smile, Old madam, it's your birthday banquet today. Why are you outside in the cold wind? Let's go back to the living room quickly. With that said, Mrs. Qin glanced at Bei Yunj. After frowning slightly, she called out gently, Jiao Jiao, come and talk to your Grandma Lu. Okay, then let's go to the living room first. Old Madame Lu smiled. When she saw Qin Youjiao sitting in a wheelchair on the way, she frowned unconsciously. Jiao Jiao, what happened to your leg? It's nothing. I accidentally fell downstairs. Don't worry, I didn't hurt my bones. I'll recover in a week. Then you have to be careful in the future. It's not good to have a scar on a girl's leg. Old Madame Lu nodded and reminded her. In the living room. Whose daughter are you? Before Mrs. Qin and old Madame Lu could get close, old Madame Lu looked at Bei Yunj impatiently. It was obvious that she was very interested in Bei Yunj. However, when Mrs. Qin heard this, her expression froze and she glanced coldly at Bei Yunj with disgust. It was as if she was afraid that others would associate her with Bei Yunj. But who knew, me? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows slowly and chuckled slowly. I live in an orphanage. Old Madame Lu's expression was pitiful. Oh, your parents are dead. Suddenly, Lu Yuanci, who was eating spaghetti, covered his mouth and coughed lightly, choking. Everyone was speechless. What kind of suffocating scene was this? At this moment, old Madame Lu was still chatting enthusiastically with Bei Yunj, but she did not notice how terrible Mrs. Qin's expression was. Until Qin Yu returned from the washroom. Mrs. Qin's expression softened slightly and she said to Qin Youjiao with a coy smile, Jiao Jiao, did your second brother buy this bracelet for you when he went to country R? Yes. A coy expression appeared on Qin Youjiao's face and she could not help but look at Qin Yu again. This bracelet was made purely by hand. There's only one in the world. The lady beside her had a discerning eye. This bracelet is worth at least 20 to 30 million, right? Second young master really dotes on Miss Qin Youjiao. Many people present also noticed Qin Youjiao's last sentence, there was only one in the world. In that case, Qin Yu didn't give it to Bei Yunj and only gave it to Qin Youjiao? Everyone had different thoughts, but they all felt that this little princess who had been doted on by the Qin family for more than 10 years would not fall out of favor so easily. Yu doesn't come home often, but he's willing to buy things for his sister, Mrs. Qin said with a smile when she realized that she had achieved her goal. Instead of looking at Mrs. Qin, Qin Yu turned his head and chuckled. Why aren't you wearing anything at the banquet? Bei Yunja's eyebrows moved and she looked at Qin Yu. You haven't worn what second brother bought for you before. Qin Yu chuckled and took out an exquisite and beautiful necklace from his pocket. Chapter 2:15. Soon. Bei Yunj felt a cool touch in front of her collarbone. After Qin Yu put on the necklace for Bei Yunj, he let go of her hand calmly. Looking at Bei Yunj, his gaze was deep and gentle. My gu is very pretty. Suddenly, someone's knife and fork fell on the table, attracting the attention of many people. F***ck, sister, look at that necklace. Is it the Queen of Posebi's necklace? The baby-faced girl shook her sister's hand crazily. You must have seen wrongly, of course not. I studied jewelry design for nothing. This is definitely the real deal. I remember that there was a big brand that imitated this necklace and produced a custom-made product. It cost 40 million. The baby-faced girl looked excited. Hearing this, the rest of the people were stunned. Queen of Posebi's necklace? He remembered that 10 years ago, the last auction had been sold for more than 98 million. Today, it could only become more and more valuable. Is this very expensive? Bei Yunj furrowed her eyebrows. She remembered that Qin Yu had given the original protagonist this necklace before. However, she did not expect it to be so valuable. It's all right. Qin Yu smirked. The price of this necklace that Qin Yu had bid for was 160 million. After all, this was a real antique and had collectible value. Qin Yu remembered that he was still filming in Our Nation at that time. Because Qin Yojiao kept quarreling and insisted on getting a bracelet from an auction, he also went to bid for it. But because this bracelet was unique, Qin Yu remembered that he had a new sister at home and he wanted to prepare a gift for her. So, he secretly bid for this Queen of Posebi's necklace. After all, this was his first gift for his new sister. At this thought, Qin Yu's gaze on Bei Yunj became gentler. This might be the only thing he had done right in his previous life. When did second brother buy that necklace for Yunj? Qin Yojiao suppressed her emotions, but her eyes were red with jealousy and she felt even more indignant. This should have belonged to her. When Gu returned to the Qin family for the first time, Qin Yu's eyes turned cold calmly and he sneered. Hearing this, not only Qin Yojiao, even Mrs. Qin did not expect Qin Yu to give Bei Yunj such an expensive gift in private. Even for Qin Yojiao, the most expensive thing was the bracelet she was wearing today. In an instant, Qin Yojiao's face paled. She found this hard to believe. Bei Yunj touched the necklace in front of her collarbone, wondering why the original owner of her body didn't sell this thing. At this moment, old Madame Lu tugged at Lu Yuanxi's sleeve and asked curiously, "What's the relationship between Gu, and the Qin family?" "Oh, the second lady on your left is the mother of my desk mate." Lu Yuanxi continued to eat his noodles. "I don't want to." Suddenly, the back of Lu Yuanxi's head suffered a palm strike. Old Madame Lu was angry and annoyed. "You rascal, why didn't you tell me earlier?" This palm almost pressed Lu Yuanxi's head into the ground. "Lu Yuanxi, what did this have to do with her? Don't poke your nose into other people's business." Lu Yuanxi furrowed his eyebrows. His deskmate was a barrel of explosives that could explode at any time. Was he tired of living if he went up to her now? Old Madame Lu despised and hated him. Is this brat's brain all used on gaming? Don't you have any feelings for Gu, Chapter 216. Old Madam, you just woke up too? Lu Yuanxi chuckled and continued to eat his noodles. The corners of old Madame Lu's lips twitched. She suspected that their Lu family might have no descendants because of this little B** starred. If this little girl is abducted, you'll regret it. With that said, old Madame Lu suddenly thought of the man who pretended to be Bei Yunj's husband last time. He was young and handsome and looked equally dignified. There's no hope. Old Madame Lu's eyelids twitched. Compared to that young man, Lu Yuanxi was indeed too different. Soon, Yu Hanran also brought Yu Manran to the living room. However, before Yu Hanran could find a seat and sit beside Bei Yunj, Qin Yu suddenly said gently, "Hanran, I have something to talk to you about." Yu Hanran was perplexed. What was wrong with Qin Yu? Had he already forgotten that they were sworn enemies? Yu Hanran's eyelids twitched, but he still sat beside Qin Yu. He was about to speak, "Are you, at least you know what's good for you." Qin Yu snorted. Yu Hanran was speechless. "I know that my sister is good-looking and outstanding. It's normal for you to be moved. But you should control yourself." Qin Yu smiled and patted Yu Hanran's shoulder gently. "A man can't help himself. This is called committing a crime." Seeing Qin Yu look like he was going to punish him personally at any time, Yu Hanran felt that it was ridiculous. "Stop talking nonsense," Yu Hanran said immediately. Qin Yu asked, "Is my sister not good-looking?" "Yes." "You don't like this kind of face?" "I do." "Then can you control yourself?" "I can control myself." Before Yu Hanran could finish answering, he realized that this question was a trap. No matter how he answered, it would be like he was lusting after his sister. "Qin Yu, are you deliberately finding trouble with me?" Yu Hanran took a deep breath and looked at Qin Yu with a cold smile. Don't think that you can take advantage of me just because I don't have time to take care of Gu. Qin Yu refused to give up. His face was almost filled with, "Don't even think about it, dream on." However, Yu Hanran was confused. When did he show that he was interested in Bei Yunj? Now, Qin Yu was staring at him like he was a thief. "Why do you think that I'm interested in your Gu?" Yu Hanran put on a fake smile. If it weren't for the wrong occasion, he would have fought with this dog. "You don't need to know." Qin Yu's eyes were arrogant and handsome. His tone was lazy with a faint sneer, but he was secretly sighing in his heart. He did not expect Master Du to treat him so well. Knowing that Yu Hanran was restless, he still remembered to ask Assistant Tseng to remind him to be more vigilant. Sure enough, so many years of brotherhood were worth cherishing. Suddenly. "Did Huashida tell you?" Yu Hanran thought about it. This was the only person who could fan the flames. "Why? Are you feeling guilty?" Qin Yu glanced at him. Yu Hanran's face twitched. "Great, there's actually a thief calling out to stop the thief. Are you stupid?" Yu Hanran couldn't help but scold. "Yu Hanran, are you itching for a beating?" Qin Yu's expression also darkened. "Me? Qin Yu, take King look. Do I look like someone who would steal your little cabbage?" Yu Hanran laughed in anger. Qin Yu snorted. "Yu Hanran, do you have some misunderstanding about yourself?" At this moment. "What are you talking about?" Bei Yunj asked. Chapter 217. Nothing. Qin Yu and Yu Hanran pretended that nothing had happened. When Yu Manran saw this, he could tell at a glance that Qin Yu and Yu Hanran had a good relationship. "Then I'll go back first. I still have something to do." Bei Yunj didn't like to stay in such a place. "Then second brother will send you." Qin Yu said instinctively. "No need. A chauffeur will pick me up later." In the eyes of outsiders, Bei Yunj's attitude was nothing, but Qin Yu could clearly feel that Gu-er's attitude towards him was still cold. Qin Yu's eyes darkened. Then. "Gu-er, go back and rest early." Bei Yunj glanced at him. "You too." Then. After greeting old Madame Lu, Bei Yunj turned and left. However, at this moment, Qin Yu's expression was happy. His eyes were dark and bright and the corners of his lips could not help but curl up. Was Gu concerned about him just now? After getting this understanding, Qin Yu decided to work hard so that Gu could accept him as her second brother again. Until he regained his senses. Qin Yu saw Yu Hanran raise an eyebrow and look at him with a gloating gaze. Did Qin Yu's usual intelligence lose all of it when it came to his sister? "Eat more. Don't you like to eat cabbage?" Qin Yu picked up a few cabbages for Yu Hanran in a friendly manner. Yu Hanran took a deep breath and chuckled soon. He really picked up his wooden chopsticks and ate the cabbage calmly. "Your cabbage? King planted your cabbage in someone else's den and you're still afraid of being bitten?" Although Yu Hanran was angry, he was still a person who liked to watch a show. He would not tell Qin Yu the truth. Looking at the current situation, he wanted to know if Master Du would take away Qin Yu's cabbage. At this thought, Yu Hanran glanced at Qin Yu gloatingly. He really wanted to know what expression Qin Yu would have if he saw Master Du personally poaching his cabbage. The grading speed of Hengda High School was very fast. The next afternoon, the papers were all distributed. Bei Yunj bit her straw and glanced at her 6 test papers. It was not surprising that she had scored more than 300 points. But she didn't expect Chu Zhixing's science results to be so good. Other than chemistry, where he lost 2 marks for one question, he scored full marks for the rest of the subjects. However, when Bei Yunj caught a glimpse of Chu Zhixing's English and Chinese papers, her eyelids twitched. Her science results were almost full marks, but her liberal arts results were not up to par. "Master Pei, your Chinese and English are really good," Chu Zhixing said enviously. Bei Yunj looked at her Chinese and English scores of 70 to 80 points. She couldn't help but twitch her lips. She didn't know how to answer him. Very tall? Let me see. Lu Yuanxi, who had just returned from playing basketball, heard Bei Yunj and Chu Zhixing discussing the results, and his eyes lit up. Language 78 marks, English 87 marks. When Lu Yuanxi saw this, he couldn't suppress the smile on his face. Until he realized that Bei Yunj was looking at him with a faint smile. Lu Yuanxi's smile disappeared and he patted Bei Yunj's shoulder. Don't be discouraged, desk mate. Although your scores aren't high, I can teach you. With that said, Lu Yuanxi turned around with a refreshing smile on his face, only to see the English papers he was proud of lying flat on the table. The bold red 68-foot made Lu Yuanxi's whole body stiffen. However, at this moment, Chu Zhixing spoke. Brother Lu, how many marks did you get in English? Chapter 218. Chu Zhixing guessed with an envious expression. 145? 146. Seeing that Lu Yuanxi did not answer, Chu Zhixing thought that his guess was still too low and his expression became even more impressed. He did not expect Brother Lu to really be a hidden genius. At this moment, Bei Yunj happened to glance to the side and saw the clear 68-foot. Immediately, Lu Yuanxi heard a soft laugh from the side, as if someone could not hold it in. Lu Yuanxi looked at Bei Yunj expressionlessly and gritted his teeth. It must be a mistake. He grew up in our country, how could his score be so low? It was even lower than Bei Yunj's. Brother Lu? Before Chu Zhixing could ask, he was interrupted by Lu Yuanxi. Shut up. At first, Chu Zhixing was confused until he saw the 68-foot on Lu Yuanxi's paper. After a moment of silence, Chu Zhixing quietly put away his 66 paper, afraid that he would agitate Lu Yuanxi. However, at this moment, Bei Yunj showed a rare trace of pity and comforted him, at least the total score is over 100. Lu Yuanxi really wanted to curse. In Class 1. Jiao Jiao, what kind of big boss are you? You're second in the cohort again. The girl could not help but be excited. I'm lucky. Qin Youjiao smiled. It was only when Ling Jiwei walked into Class 1 that her eyes lit up. Jiao Jiao, I heard a teacher praising you in the office just now. You're second again and first in the liberal arts. Ling Jiwei teased, isn't it time to treat us? Every time we take an exam, you all find reasons to exploit me. Qin Youjiao said coquettishly. Who asked Jiao Jiao to be so amazing? At this point, Ling Jiwei suddenly remembered Bei Yunj's results that she had seen in the office just now and a mocking look appeared in her eyes. Unlike someone, who can't be helped by mud. Wei, are you talking about that Bei Yunj? Qin Youjiao was also quite popular with girls in class. The girls who often followed Qin Youjiao naturally didn't like Bei Yunj. Especially not long ago, Bei Yunj was ranked first in the Tieba forum for the most beautiful girl in school. Qin Youjiao's total votes were not even 1/5 of Bei Yunj's. Yeah, a total score of more than 300 points, 28th from the bottom of the grade. Ling Jiwei's tone was sarcastic and gloating. With these grades, I don't even know what university you can go to. Hearing this, a dark look flashed past Qin Youjiao's eyes as she heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. Ever since she saw Bei Yunj playing the piano at the Lu family's house yesterday, she had been feeling uneasy. She was afraid that there would be a change in her performance today. Fortunately, Bei Yunj's results were within her expectations. She couldn't be compared to her. She came from that kind of high school. It's normal for her not to adapt at first. Qin Youjiao smiled faintly. What do you mean? She was a bad student in her original high school, let alone in a school like ours. Ling Jiwei was smug. She wanted to see how Bei Yunj would be slapped in the face after finding out about Qin Youjiao's results. At noon, Bei Yunj received a call from Marcus. Yunj, someone wants to buy the licensing rights for our project. Do you know about the Delaney Group? Marcus was extremely excited. Before the patent was officially released, Delaney had already offered a sky-high patent fee. One could imagine how popular Bei Yunj's first project was. Chapter 219. Even the top technology group in our nation wanted to buy out Bei Yunj's project patent, as if they were afraid that she would sell it to someone else. However, Marcus did not expect that before he could be happy for long. Bei Yunj said slowly. I'm not selling it. Marcus was speechless. I say, little ancestor, do you know how much Delaney paid for this patent fee? A patent fee of 10 figures. Is my patent cabbage? Bei Yunj smiled faintly. Marcus was speechless. 10 figures. It's signed for 5 years, Bei Yunj said concisely. In her previous life, Bei Yunj's first project had won the top award in the industry. As a result, the most news about her on the internet was about her sky-high patent fee that was skyrocketing every year. This was really a big boss who dared to suck the blood of capitalists. However, the capitalists had a love-hate relationship with this big boss. At this moment, Marcus calmed down and quickly organized his words. He smiled carefully and said, but our project isn't completed yet. Delaney is interested in the prospects of our project, but it's hard to say if we can expand the market. Then we can let him wait for my project to finish. With that said, Bei Yunj added slowly, when the time comes, the fee will be doubled. Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He sucked in a breath of cold air and hurriedly said, okay. Then I'll talk to Delaney first. Okay. After Bei Yunj hung up the phone, she returned to class leisurely with her milk tea. However, Bei Yunj did not expect to see Chu Zhixing memorizing words alone. Have you eaten? Bei Yunj returned to her seat and asked. Chu Zhixing was caught secretly memorizing words. He looked a little shy and shook his head. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and said lazily, just nice. I don't want to drink anymore. With that said, Chu Zhixing saw the milk tea on the table. Thank you, Yunj. Chu Zhixing glanced at the girl who was playing with her iPad with her head propped up. He could not help but feel his heart warm. Why are you suddenly so interested in foreign languages? Bei Yunj asked casually. I want to apply for the summer camp at the Our Nation's Medical Institute. I've always been interested in medicine, but, Chu Zhixing scratched his head. My language skills are not good. I can't even write an application form. A dark look flashed past Bei Yunj's eyes. She turned her head to look at Chu Zhixing. Let me see. Chu Zhixing was stunned for a moment. He then took out an application form for the medical institute and a handwritten application description and handed them to Bei Yunj. After reading Chu Zhixing's handwritten instructions, Bei Yunj said, actually, you don't have to apply. Chu Zhixing's science results were indeed excellent. He also had a lot of medical knowledge and had a lot of opinions. To be able to reach such a level at his age, he was indeed a good seedling. No. Chu Zhixing thought that Bei Yunj was planning to open the door for him, so he said nervously, why Yunj, forget it. I want to get in through my own efforts. I don't want to be looked down upon. From the medicine last time, Chu Zhixing roughly knew that Bei Yunj should know someone from the Our Nation's Research Institute. However, there had always been a person in the Our Nation's Research Institute who had been his idol. He did not want that person to think that he had gotten in through the back door. Who knew, however, Bei Yunj's eyes suddenly curved as she teased slowly, then who does little Chu want to be looked down upon? Chapter 220. Chu Zhixing's face flushed red. No, no one. It's not considered letting you in through the back door. Bei Yunj chuckled. She was planning to talk to Stephen about Chu Zhixing's handwritten application when she was free. As for whether he would accept it or not, it was all up to Stephen. Thank you very much, Yunj. But this application has a different meaning to me. I want to get his approval personally. Chu Zhixing smiled. Hearing this, Bei Yunj did not say anything. She only turned around and leaned on the table to take a nap. Until class started. Bei Yunj took out a blank piece of paper from the drawer. After pondering for a while, she started to write the entire page. Then, before Chu Zhixing came back with water, she casually put the paper into Chu Zhixing's English textbook and continued to sleep on the table. After school. Bei Yunj had just gotten into the car when she suddenly remembered the parent-teacher conference. Uncle Zhang, let's go to the Hua Corporation. Uncle Zhang nodded with a smile. Okay, Mississippi. Not long after, Bei Yunj sent Huashidu another message. Brother, I'll wait for you at the company today. A minute or two later, Bei Yunj received a reply. Okay, I'll get Tseng Su to bring you upstairs. Seeing this message, Bei Yunj smiled calmly. Half an hour passed. At the Hua Corporation. Tseng Su saw Bei Yunj's figure from afar and immediately went forward to block the sun for Bei Yunj with a folder. Miss Pei, the sun is so strong. You have to bring an umbrella next time. Tseng Su smiled. Thank you for your concern, Assistant Tseng. After Bei Yunj and Tseng Su walked into the company, she smiled brightly. Oh right, is Assistant Tseng free next Friday? Tseng Su's eyelid twitched and he had a bad feeling. Do you need my help with anything? I wonder if I can trouble Assistant Tseng to hold a parent-teacher conference for me next Friday? When Bei Yunj smiled, her eyes were curved and her eyes were clear and harmless. However, when Tseng Su heard this, he was scared out of his wits. What kind of joke was this? Holding a parent-teacher meeting for Miss Pei? Wouldn't Master Du bury him alive? That. Why doesn't Miss Pei try asking Master Du? Tseng Su smiled fawningly. Master Du dotes on you so much, why would he reject your request? I'm afraid that my brother will be scolded if he goes. Bei Yunj blinked her clear and beautiful eyes and said honestly. Tseng Su, so you want me to be scolded? Miss Pei, please spare me. How would I dare to be your guardian? Tseng Su wanted to cry but had no tears. Bei Yunj. Then I'll think of another way. Since she had left the Qin family, she certainly wouldn't let the Qin family hold a parent-teacher conference for her. However, she had just taken over this body not long ago, so she did not know many people. Looking for Elder Zhong? Letting an extremely famous researcher sit in her classroom and be scolded did not sound like something a human would do. Looking for Yu Manran? He would be at the top of the headlines the next day. As for Marcus, who was far away overseas, that was even more unrealistic. Bei Yunj, who was thinking about this problem, unknowingly pushed open the door of the president's office. You're here? A man's deep voice sounded. Yes. Bei Yunj reacted and placed her backpack on the coffee table. Immediately after, she saw a slender and good-looking hand holding a bottle of milk and placing it in front of her. Yun, play by yourself first. I have a meeting to attend later. Chapter 221. Bei Yunj looked at the milk that seemed to have been specially prepared for her and her pretty eyes moved unconsciously. Got it. She reached out to take the milk. Seeing this, the man chuckled softly and only left the office when someone outside reminded him. However, not long after, Bei Yunj pushed her homework aside and took out her iPad to check on the follow-up of her 2 interns' projects. Suddenly, Bei Yunj received several messages from Yu Manran. Qin Yojiao wants to enter the entertainment industry? I heard that she's planning to sign a contract with your second brother's personal studio. Is this woman manipulating public opinion for the sake of convenience in the future? I've already seen the company's marketing accounts clearing her name. Smile, are you there? After reading these messages, Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow slightly. Indeed, she did not expect Qin Yojiao to choose to enter the entertainment industry at this time. According to the original novel's development, Qin Youjiao should have entered the entertainment industry after graduating from university. Then, Bei Yunj moved her fingers lightly and typed a paragraph of text. The new song is pretty good. Practice your high notes well this month. The next new song will be the one that made you famous. At this moment, Yu Manran, who was drinking water backstage, choked and coughed violently as his eyes widened in disbelief. Sister Man, can you not look like a young girl in love? Why are you staring at your phone and smiling foolishly? What if the paparazzi take photos of you? The manager's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. She really did not expect Yu Manran to be so lucky to meet a benefactor in a bar. This new song made Yu Manran's popularity surpass several popular A-list female celebrities. If the next song could still be so popular, Yu Manran would definitely jump into the ranks of the A-list celebrities this year. I was chatting with Gu just now. We were talking about a new song. Yu Manran was a little weak. His recent popularity had already made Yu Manran feel that it was unreal. And Bei Yunja's words just now made Yu Manran feel like he was dreaming. The manager was suddenly even more agitated than Yu Manran. What did she say to you? Yu Manran's eyelids twitched. He turned to look at her and said, she told me to practice my high notes properly. My next song will be the one that will make me famous. If someone else had said something like this, she might have thought that the person was bragging. But Bei Yunj was different. That new song had only been released for less than a week, but it had already dominated all the charts in the country. Recently, the popularity of his new songs overseas had also been rising. There were even well-known singers who adapted and covered the song. In this situation, even she felt that this song was enough for Yu Manran to earn a lifetime of dividends. However, Bei Yunj even told Yu Manran that the next song would be Yu Manran's masterpiece. The manager felt goosebumps all over her body. Man, did your ancestors accumulate virtue for 18 lifetimes? How could such a lucky thing happen to her? Yu Manran said frankly, I'm starting to think so too. The manager was speechless. However, Yu Manran still couldn't help but worry. Qin Youjiao's motive for entering the entertainment industry was definitely not that simple. What if she was planning to use her identity as an artiste to step on Bei Yunj, in the villa? Qin Yu had just taken a shower when he saw his manager's serious expression. What's wrong? He looked up. Miss Qin signed up for our studio. Chapter 222. What? Qin Yu's handsome eyes were like thick ink as the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Was Qin Youjiao crazy? Miss Qin wants to enter the entertainment industry. Logically speaking, staying with her brother would be more. She would feel more at ease. Before the manager could finish speaking, he felt Qin Yu's cold gaze and shut up instinctively. My younger sister only has Bei Yunj. Don't forget it. Qin Yu snorted. Get rid of this person in the first round. If she appears in my studio, then I'll get rid of you. Do you understand? Hearing this, the manager felt a chill run down his spine and nodded hurriedly. Brother Yu, don't worry. I won't let her in. At the same time, the manager could not understand why Qin Yu had changed his attitude towards Qin Youjiao. In the past, although Qin Yu did not come home often, it was obvious that he doted on Qin Youjiao. However, what he was sure of now was that the newly returned Miss Pei had completely become the person Qin Yu was most nervous about. At the Hua Corporation, Bei Yunj twirled the pen in her hand and slowly did her homework. Suddenly, the door was pushed open gently and a coquettish voice sounded. Is Assistant Tseng here? Bei Yunj did not even look up as she said casually, no. However, hearing the reply, the smile on the female secretary's face froze. It was obvious that she did not expect there to be a woman inside. She had been in the company for almost 3 months and had found out that President Hua was not close to women. Even the staff around him were all men. But what was with this voice in the office? After some thought, the female secretary could not help but push the door open and enter. But what he didn't expect was to see a bright and beautiful girl sitting by the coffee table doing her homework. She was stunned for a moment before she smiled and said, "Are you President Hua's younger sister?" Bei Yunji's pen stopped. She did not expect her to come in. Her red lips curved and she looked even more charming, but her words were ambiguous. "If that's the case, then you can say so." These words made the female secretary's smile freeze. What did this girl mean? Alarm bells rang in the female secretary's heart. Did President Hua agree to miss being here? The female secretary seemed to treat herself as a regular here. At this moment, Bei Yunji didn't answer her question. She just bit her straw and wrote the question slowly. However, seeing that Bei Yunji didn't say anything, the secretary thought that Bei Yunji was guilty. "Little girl, are you President Hua's friend's little sister?" The female secretary was a little smart. She knew that Bei Yunji wouldn't be able to enter this office building if she didn't have a high status. "But, little girl, you probably don't know that President Hua doesn't like women in his office," the female secretary said again. Upon hearing this, Bei Yunji looked up and sized her up. The female secretary was wearing a suit skirt that was cut short to her thighs. Her legs in black stockings were especially sexy. "So, shouldn't you go out?" Bei Yunji raised her eyebrows and looked at her calmly. There was no warmth in his eyes, which inexplicably made the female secretary a little flustered. "I'm here to look for Assistant Tseng. I have some work matters to hand over. On the other hand, isn't it inappropriate for Miss to be doing homework here? Why don't I bring you to the reception room?" Chapter 223. Bei Yunji glanced at this troublesome woman and then glanced at the phone screen. "They will be back in 3 minutes. Why aren't you leaving?" "Miss, please come out with me. As an employee, I have to do my best for my boss." The female secretary did not believe that this girl really knew when Master Du would be back. If he really came back in 3 minutes, would she dare to sit here? What if I don't go out? Bei Yunji leaned lazily against the sofa. Her black curly hair was spread out casually, but her eyes were soul-stirring. Even as a woman, she could feel how seductive this girl was. The female secretary gritted her teeth and deliberately scared her. "Miss, you don't want me to ask the security guards to ask you to leave, do you? A young lady with such a good family background should be the most afraid of losing face." "Miss Secretary, did you misunderstand something?" Bei Yunji suddenly smiled. Hearing this, the female secretary could not help but walk towards Bei Yunji. She thought that Bei Yunji was afraid and was about to give in. "What did you misunderstand?" The female secretary waited for Bei Yunji to explain clearly. Unexpectedly, Bei Yunji suddenly stood up. Bei Yunji leaned close to her ear and said in a clear tone, "I'm not your president's sister. I'm his child bride." Hearing this, the female secretary's legs almost went weak. She had heard that many wealthy families groomed outstanding wives for their heirs. But in this era, very few people did so. Then, before the female secretary could retort, the man's light voice suddenly sounded from the door. "Yun, what are you doing?" Huashidu had just pushed open the door when he saw this young lady's eyes crinkling. He did not know what she said to the woman beside her, but that woman's expression changed drastically. This child was making a fuss again. When Bei Yunji saw that Huashidu had returned, she sat back on the sofa and looked at the female secretary again with a smile. The female secretary did not expect Bei Yunji to be telling the truth. President Hua actually came back at this time. She was flustered, especially when she met Huashidu's cold eyes. President Hua, who let you in?" The man's tone was still cold and indifferent, but the oppressive feeling around him sent chills down her spine. The secretary's pretty face turned pale, and she subconsciously looked at Bei Yunji who was sitting on the sofa. She gritted her teeth and pointed at Bei Yunji. I'm here to look for Assistant Tseng, but I didn't expect to see this lady in your office. That's why I thought of a way to get her to move to another place, to stay. The female secretary's voice became softer and softer. She knew that she must have offended Huashidu this time. She could only make this man soften his heart a little with her red eyes. Is Tseng Su the owner of this office? Are you looking for him here? Huashidu's gaze swept over her indifferently. He walked straight to his desk and pressed a few buttons on the landline. Soon, Tseng Su arrived. Master Du, when Tseng Su saw a pretty female secretary appear in Huashidu's office with red eyes, he immediately realized what was going on. These women really dared to praise him. Before everyone entered the company, they were warned not to enter the president's office. However, every year, there would be people who thought that they were exceptions and could gain Master Du's favor. How stupid! Tseng Su cursed in his heart. He knew that Master Du would blame him again. Chapter 224. Is this the person you've interviewed? The man's pair of lustful eyes were dangerous and deep. Tseng Su quickly lowered his head. Master Du, I didn't take good care of the newbie. Get her out. Huashidu's casual words made Tseng Su wonder if he had heard wrongly. However, when his gaze landed on the person on the sofa, he seemed to have understood something. It turned out that there was a life-saving talisman. Tseng Su took a deep breath and looked at the newbie with an unpleasant expression. Who let you in? The female secretary bit her lip and glanced at Bei Yunj, who was sitting on the sofa. Her face immediately turned red and pale. She felt the difference in status between her and this girl sitting on the sofa. I'm here to look for you. The female secretary cried. When Tseng Su heard that the female secretary still dared to push the matter to him, he suppressed his anger with a fake smile. You came to the president's office to look for me? The female secretary, get out. Tseng Su reprimanded with a dark expression. The female secretary looked at Huashidu unwillingly. In the end, her gaze landed on Bei Yunj. She did not believe that this girl's words were true. In the next moment, the female secretary left with Tseng Su. What were you talking to someone about just now? After they left, Huashidu sat on the sofa again and glanced at Bei Yunj's one-page homework. I was helping brother. Bei Yunj's tone was calm, but her eyes were clear and seductive. Huashidu let out a long laugh. His well-defined hand slowly tugged at his tie lazily and ostentatiously. What did Yunyun help brother with? Brother has a lot of love affairs. Bei Yunj looked at Huashidu's noble and handsome appearance and her eyes curved. If I cut them off, will brother's heart ache? The man's magnetic voice was low and flirtatious. He pinched Bei Yunj's face casually. How would I dare, little kid? There was a hint of indulgence in his casual flirtatious tone. The only thing Bei Yunj could see was the mole on the tip of her throat. She was emboldened. Brother, come closer. Let's discuss something. What is it? Huashidu's eyes were faint, but the corners of his upturned eyes were charming. When he lowered his eyes, his posture was so intimate and sexy that it made people blush. In fact, on the way, Tseng Su told him about the little guy's parent-teacher conference. However, at this moment, Huashidu looked at Bei Yunj in front of him thoughtfully, as if he was thinking about something. Brother, seeing this, Huashidu raised his eyebrows. He did not expect Bei Yunj to be so hesitant because of the parent-teacher conference. However, Huashidu soon realized that this young lady was clearly so bold that she was not afraid of the consequences. Suddenly, her fair and slender hand directly touched the mole on the man's Adam's apple. Huashidu's gaze quickly turned dark and aggressive. He immediately grabbed that lawless hand. Bei Yunj saw the mole move along with the man's sexy Adam's apple. It made her heart tremble. Then, she looked up and sensed a dangerous emotion in the man's eyes. It was almost indiscernible. Bei Yunj, she had gone overboard. The man licked his thin red lips, his gaze fixed on her. His low and hoarse laughter tickled her eardrums. It was so sexy and made her heart itch. The darkness in his eyes made her legs go weak. Child, why are you being a hooligan? Chapter 225. Bei Yunja's brain froze. She could not calm down when she saw this scene. The man looked at her angrily and amusedly. He did not know where this young lady got the courage to touch his Adam's apple. After sorting out his emotions, Wuxia leaned closer and rubbed his fingers against her face intimately. His low and magnetic voice was ambiguous and ostentatious. Do you want to see how bad I am? The light in the man's eyes was hidden. His evil and lustful demeanor made one's heart tremble. As soon as he finished speaking, the female secretary, who had pretended to come back to get something and was still unwilling to give up, happened to see this scene clearly. Her pupils constricted. President Hua, at this moment, Tseng Su arrived very quickly. Wuxia had just turned to look when he heard him reprimand her. Yu Qianya, since you're restless in the headquarters, transfer to another post now. Tseng Su's expression was ugly. He did not expect this woman to be so stupid and scheming. Suddenly, Wuxia, who had not cared much about this matter, spoke. There's no need to transfer. When the female secretary heard this, she was overjoyed. She thought that Wuxia was starting to take pity on her. However, in the next moment, the man's tone was indifferent and still unreasonable. The Hua Corporation doesn't need such an employee. In an instant, the female secretary's face turned pale. She did not expect to end up in an even worse state. President Hua, I am just here to look for something. The female secretary was incoherent and felt cold all over. She did not expect Wuxia to fire her directly. Tseng Su, are you taking the company's year-end bonus to retire in the company? The man sneered. Tseng Su. Master Du, I was wrong. I'll deduct this year's year-end bonus. If there are any employees who don't abide by the dress code next time, they will all be fired. Wuxia's heartless words made Tseng Su's scalp tingle. Yes, Master Du, please continue with your work. I'll handle the rest. After speaking, Tseng Su glanced at the female secretary bitterly. He was prepared to transfer this group of slightly good-looking people who wanted to seduce the president. He wanted to prevent all actions that would harm his year-end bonus next year. After Tseng Su sent them away, Bei Yunj watched as Wuxia walked to his desk and prepared to work. She could not help but ask, Brother, are you angry? Hearing this, Wuxia glanced at her slowly and did not say anything. So that she wouldn't dare to touch anyone's Adam's apple in the future. Brother? At some point, Bei Yunj had dragged a chair and sat across from him. She rested her chin on her hand and smiled as she watched Wuxia review the documents. Bei Yunj leaned on the desk again and said with a smile, Brother, but I don't have an Adam's apple for you to touch. The man's strokes were smooth and flowing. Suddenly, Bei Yunja's red lips curled up again. There seemed to be light in her eyes and her clear voice sounded like it could melt one's bones. Brother Shidu, the elegant and noble man's upturned eyes narrowed, but the ink in his hand was dizzy and almost fell. He slowly raised his eyes and looked at the little girl who was about to turn into a spirit. He couldn't do anything to her and laughed softly. Wuxia reached out with his slender hand and gently tapped her smooth forehead with the pen cap. His seductive and magnetic voice was filled with a smile as he casually imitated her tone. Don't be coy. Brother Shidu can't take it. This seductive look was simply too alluring. Even Bei Yunja's heart beat faster when she saw this scene. She suddenly stood up, turned around, and walked to the coffee table to do her homework.